What do you need? Your sausage and shit is over there. This mine. But what you standing right here for? You finna make the food? I'm finna get something out of here. Then get it. I'm not in the way. You hungry right now? I'm finna make it. I'm hungry. I'm not gonna wait on you. Sorry. I don't need you to wait on me. I can go buy my own food if I'm hungry. I ain't say nothing. I ain't got none. Good. Well, you know. What else do you know? Things like that. All you know. Hey, Michael. Hey, actually, you can leave mine in there. I'll cook my own too. You can just make your burger and you. I don't need nobody. Michael, sometimes you gotta let them know. Have to remind a bitch that they're not needed. Oh, I got hair. You only want one burger? You can have some, Adrian or Adriana. You could. What you gonna do now? Why? You taking a shower? Why are you gonna beat your meat? I thought we was gonna smoke. I thought we was gonna smoke. You ain't finna beat your meat. I'm gonna beat your meat tonight. What's funny? I am all night. I'm talking to my boyfriend. He talk about he finna go beat his meat. No, sir. That's my job. I'm beating that motherfucker tonight. That's my boyfriend, Jalen. Yeah. She talking about, oh. Yeah, exactly. The fuck he mean? I'm finna go beat my meat. No, sir. You have a professional meat eater right here. I'm dead ass serious. How about stop trying to be funny? Well, I'm sorry, Adriana. You're on the wrong live. She's talking about I'm 12. You might be on the wrong live, ma'am. No, it ain't. Why you didn't eat? What'd you eat today? The last guy on YouTube Earth. You didn't eat today? You need to eat. I think I only ate once today. We ate chicken strips today? Well, I ate twice today. So what I eat today? There was today. Chicken necks, you're right. AD, I'm bald because I just wanted to go bald. I have no excuse. I just wanted to be bald. I was getting ready to go to work, and I always do this because it's quicker to do to be presentable at work. That's honest, the true reason why I'm bald. Because it takes longer for me to cut my hair a decent way than to be bald. You want chicken nugget? Mm-mm. I don't want no chicken nugget. I only like chicken nuggets on top of a salad. I've been feeling the same lately. Yeah, AD. You look like Tim Hardaway. I don't even know who that is. Yeah, I can sing. Hold on. What you want me to sing? Anything? You can have anything I got. All of me, right? The riots are not happening anymore. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't really consider it a riot. Think about it. I think a riot would have ended a little differently. Let's just call it a protest. Let's call it what it is. What's your opinion on the whole situation? Okay, opinions are just like assholes. Everyone has one, so I won't get too deep. But I think everyone should be allowed to, especially exercise their First Amendment, freedom of speech. Um, I empathize with the Hispanic community still to this day. I'm not the type of person that says, "Oh, that's not my fight." I understand that we are all one, but at this current time and age, I do believe that myself as a black man have lots of other things to deal with than to try to put that ahead of my stuff that I got to work on right now. I don't want to be too specific and I don't want to say anything that I cannot take back. I love both sides. I love everybody. And I want to see everybody win and everybody be included. So whatever it takes, do what you got to do. But no hard feelings, no disrespect to the African American people who want to march. No disrespect to the African American people who say this is not our fight. No disrespect to the Hispanic slash Latino community. that fights, and no disrespect to the ones who feel like we should have been fighting with them. It is what it is. Immigration is something that's extremely good and bad at the same time for the country. We do need new people to come, but we do need them to come the right way. Um, Sanctuary cities in places of bigger cities do, you know, I won't get into that one, but yeah, I ain't gonna lie. If the shoe was on the other two, the Hispanics would. Oh hell no! The Hispanics would let us get the fuck on out of here. If the shoe was on the other feet and they was trying to deport us black niggas, the Hispanic people would be calling them. We wouldn't even know what they saying. They speak a different language. It'd be easier for them to get us the fuck out of here because we don't speak Spanish. They'd be calling them, "Come to the negro, 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 right here, aquí, aquí." Definitely, but I don't think that that's for me to feel any type of way about. Like I'm realistic, but I still don't have any hate towards them, even though I know for sure that Hispanic people don't ride for blacks. I think that I need to travel more around the world to experience more Hispanic people before I can just say, "Oh, all Hispanic people are like this." It might be just because I'm living in this area. I don't like to play the race game because I am that weird guy out of a friend group that's always been friends with everybody, no matter what race. I- I'm that guy. I've had all types of friends, and I came from the hood and the ghetto. I still was that hood ghetto person that had white friends, that had Mexican friends, that had Asian friends. Maybe just one, because like it wasn't many, and maybe that person act black, you know. So I've really never truly met people of Hispanic culture. I met Hispanic people, but I never met people who actually lived the culture until I lived here in Los Angeles. So it opened my heart and it changed the way I felt about things. I'll be honest, growing up in the workforce with Hispanic people did make me resent them and not like them because I felt like they were taking something from me until I got older and then I got to see that that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to feel that way because then it reminds you that this is not where you want to be. You're not in control. If you want to be in control, you got to work a little harder. So I kind of got past that. I've not really too much had incidents with any other race to where I'm like, I don't like that race. You know, even with Caucasian people, I know that we have a long history of turmoil, and we do have some good history too. I just don't like people. Me no black, me Dominican. Boy, you fucking wild. You just wild. I love everybody though. I really do. And I want everybody to be accepted. The only thing that I said during those raids with ICE were coming in is do your job. Do your job. Do it diligently and with care. Do your job. Also, we need to protect our law enforcement. No one should be able to spit, hit, not even shout too close in the face of any law enforcement. I'm sorry. It's a very dangerous job. I don't care about people saying, well, they're bad cops. They're, you know, so if we get, you got bad people in your family, you still let them come around. You got bad people. A lot of you were birthed by bad people. You still have a relationship with your mom and your dad. You still let them gaslight you. You still, so what's the point? What's the point? It is no point. I just think that people are now so driven by government, people aren't allowed to think on their own. Because if you do think about it realistically, if blacks and Hispanic came together, we really could, we would change the whole government. I promise you, no doubt about it. It'll never happen because it's way too deep. Everything is too deeply rooted. So I don't even see it happening. But if blacks and Hispanics actually came together, we are the only two. I don't know if they're considered a race or not. Is Hispanic considered a race? What? Is Hispanic considered a race? So what's their race? Mexican or Latino? So Filipino and Hispanic, they would that is like that. The race would be like on Honduras, Venezuela, Mexico, Mexican. Okay, we'll see. I got a lot of learning to do, but I think out of the two ethnicities on this earth. African Americans and Hispanics would actually, and it has to be African Americans. I'm sorry. Respect to my people of brown color that from different countries, but African Americans have endured. I know that I don't know what other countries have been through. That's why I hate to speak on other countries because it just sounds like a hypocrite. You can't speak on something you don't know about. I would feel very sad for someone from Africa or from any other country to come in here and to hear me speaking about their life when I've never experienced it. But I would like to believe that African Americans and Hispanics would actually be the two ethnicities to actually change a lot of stuff about the world. We could actually change a lot about the world because we would max them out. It would actually be enough of us. That would be the only person. It's no other ethnicity that I believe could do it at all. At all. And we speaking on right here in the USA, in the United States of America. So I don't know. But it would have to be through love. Stop teaching our kids that old history. Stop teaching our kids that. Actually, we need to start teaching our kids what we want our kids to know. That's where our parents failed us at. Our parents failed us because they felt like, Liberia. What if we all of us moved to Liberia and started our own nation? I like America though. I'm not being funny. Like I could go to another country. I don't think anything would ever make me feel this way. I love the USA. I love this country. This is the best country. I like being here based on the fact that everybody else from every other country wants to be here. That says enough. That says enough. I am going to travel the world and go everywhere else, but that says enough to me. Everybody wants to be here until it's time for us to tell them to go home. Then they want to rep their own country. But every other day on a regular, everybody wants to be here. I think this is the best country. We're the safest country when it comes to, we don't really have to worry about really nobody attacking us. We got the ocean all the way around this bitch, and the people on the top and the bottom of us, they're scared of us. They basically are minions. They do what we say do. No disrespect to Canada or Mexico, but they really do. They bow to us. Whatever we say goes. So we're actually the safest country in the world. On this whole planet, we're the safest. Now, we're a free country, so it's kind of crazy inside. We do deal with lots of crime and stuff like that, but I like it here. I don't want to go anywhere else. That's why when people are complaining about my country, I feel like leave, like for real, go. Give me some space so I can actually, I could make this country more beautiful. I would be able to if some people just did. All of the people who want to complain about our country, leave. You give myself and other people who actually love it here more space and opportunity to rebuild our country and make our country beautiful again. Does everybody want to be here for a reason? Same. We are very privileged here, but we can still make our own system. Yeah, we are very privileged. I would be down to start our own system, but I don't want to go over there. I want to do it in some place familiar. Mm-mm. Lucky, I'm gonna whoop you. I'm telling you to stop. I appreciate that, Mayor. He said, after I cross all streams, you the only normal streamer on YouTube. Hey, I appreciate that. What's up, Spiro? Cat now. You change your name? No more cat now. Y'all mods change y'all name every single day. Every day. Yeah. So that's that on that. I just wish everyone could come to some type of mutual agreement to not all just say that we all agree on the same thing, but to understand that we're gonna have to exist. There's nothing to do to eliminate nobody. We're here now. So what I figured Donald Trump should have done was anybody who was actually employed, anybody who was employed, he should have allowed.
The other thing too is that we have bad people who come in at certain times of vulnerability and they take over everything. Hold on. I also, what's up, Trey? I feel like Donald Trump, instead of deporting everybody, yes, get rid of the criminals. Let's not even debate it. Get rid of the criminals. I don't care if they have one parking ticket. Get them the fuck out of here. Point blank, period. You have the right to do whatever you want to do. Because when we get in any trouble, we got to pay it. Point blank, period. Anything get on your name, on your background, it's going to follow you forever. You got to take care of it. So they should have to deal with the same thing. If they have crimes, get them out of here. Point blank, period. However, people who are working, who are actually trying to take care of their family, should not be subject to deportation. I think they should have some type of different system set up into play to where their employers could be able to give them some type of documentation that automatically pushes them through to at least get them 90-day, 90-day approvals. And if they're working at that place, then you ain't got to worry about going to go find them. You know what I'm saying? That employer will be able to tell you this person is right here. Come get this person. 90 days. They will give them 90 days, and throughout that 90 days, they can have an actual caseworker, not just go take it on their own. They need somebody like a caseworker who's closely monitoring to make sure that they get their asylum or whatever that they receive. I don't know too much about that immigration status thing, but they should have something set up into play. Don't just go and attack people's workplaces and just take people out of their families. I think that's so inhumane. I think that's wrong. Also, the birthright citizenship was created for Black African American slaves, but I think that it should remain in place. I think it should remain in place. Anybody born here on American soil is an American. Point blank, period. That's just like if I'm born in California, I'm from California. If I'm born in Louisiana, I'm from Louisiana. If I'm born in Kentucky, I'm from Kentucky. No, just because, let's say, for instance, if we live in California and we go to and we move to Mississippi and end up having a baby, am I going to start telling the baby to tell everybody I'm from California? No, you're from Mississippi. So any baby born in the United States of America should automatically receive birthright citizenship. That's how I feel. And like I say, if a person has a crime, get them out of here. If you want to even put them out of here for a traffic ticket, I'm cool with that. Because when it's one of us Americans, we have to pay our due deals. Whatever they want to do to us, we have to do it. We're subject to it. They will garnish our payments. They put liens on our properties. They do everything to make sure that they get their payments. When we have warrants or anything, they come take us. They come get us. Therefore, they should be able to be subject to the same responsibilities we have to as citizens, especially if they want to be here. That's one. Back to number two. I don't think the workplace is a good place to start rounding people up. Now, I have a soft spot about Home Depot because a lot of those people at Home Depot aren't here. You want this, Jayla? They aren't documented. So it's easier for a person to be committing crimes in a Home Depot parking lot. There's no documentation there. You're just jumping in the vehicle with somebody pulling up, offering work. You don't know what you're going into. They don't know who they're picking up. That's different. You know what I'm saying? That's different. However, still, a lot of them are good people as well. They're not all bad people. So but I think the president's main job. I'm glad your head hurts. Hopefully you feel better late, Kat. Now, I ain't mean to say I'm glad it hurt. Hopefully your head stops hurting. But I just like to believe that as president, you don't have time to sit around and compare and contrast who's good. What you about to put in there, Jalen? What you about to put in there? What you about to put in there? What you about to put in there? Oh, it's only a little. Your small fry. You said you didn't want. Yeah, I love politics. I want to run for mayor. I wouldn't go any further than mayor. I want to run for mayor of a city, of a big city. I want New York, New York, Los Angeles, California, Chicago. I want a big city. Las Vegas, I want a big city. Like I would love to be mayor of a big city because I know it would be challenging and I know it would teach me so much. I love a challenge and I love learning. I love learning. Politics nowadays are they've always been more of a acting. Stop saying that, catnap. Politics don't really need more people though. I don't think it does. We need a break from it. We don't need politicians. We need actual real citizens and humans. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, we need more actual people off the streets. That's the problem with the country right now. A lot of people on the streets have been brainwashed. A lot of people don't even believe in change. They don't think anything is possible. So a lot of the people that's in the house are the same people over and over and over and over and over. And it's not that someone like you or myself aren't qualified. We just won't run. We won't get involved. We won't. We won't go to any city hall meetings. We won't actually run for any office. We won't. So it keeps going to the same people over and over and over and over and over. And nothing changes. Nothing changes. Look at Maxine Warner. Where's her grandkids? Where's her grandkids? How do you feel about Jasmine Crocker? Do you know her? She's a Democratic state representative from Texas, I believe. I think she's badass, but I think she's being set up. Her, if you know her, you know her. If you don't know her, go look her up. You'll never forget her. I think she's badass. I think her ability to effectively communicate the way she feels and then be able to communicate things in a way the way you can almost visualize everything she says is powerful. It's powerful. However, the delivery, it's all about the delivery. The delivery is everything. If you don't know how to act, you will never get no money. She don't know how to act. She doesn't know how to act. It's almost like she having a conversation with her ghetto homegirls in the project. That only gets attention, and that's the wrong type of attention. Jasmine is setting up. She's railroading herself out of politics. You can't do that. It never works for nobody. Plenty of people have tried that method. It does not work for anybody. I'm not telling you to tone yourself down. I'm telling you to try to be anybody, but you got to know how to code switch. You got to know how to because they'll play you and let you fight their battles, and then they're gonna use that same shit against you to make sure you don't get in no more. They'll use that against you. I think her name Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, that's her name, Crockett. I've been following her lately because I was like, oh, she's badass, but she's gonna be used as a pawn. She's too. She's too much. She's too much. Not in a good way. Um. Okay. I'm against war, but what's the point of having a military if they ain't gonna never go to work? Sometimes you have to reach out and touch somebody. Sometimes you actually have to show a motherfucker. That's just like in real life. It's only so much you can say to a person before they start taking you as a joke. How you doing, Precious? Like I feel like we needed to send something over there. Regardless of how the news is gonna portray it or whatever, we don't know what happened over there. We really don't. We really don't know what happened. If he lying or if he telling the truth, we don't know what happened. Sometimes you gotta reach out and touch somebody though. So I'm not tripping that, Trump did what he did. I'm not tripping. He was able to get them to cease fire for a couple of days. So hey, maybe it's working. Nothing happened today. Maybe it's working. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't. And what a lot of y'all have to realize though is this is you're in the best of the best. You have nothing to be worried about. If anything, Iran needs to be worried. We might lose a small casualty of people, but they'll lose their whole motherfucking country. We have the ability to turn the entire country of Iran into a Walmart parking lot. You have nothing to be worried about. That little doubt that you have boosts them. Don't have that doubt. Put faith and strength out into the atmosphere. Trust me. Mm-hmm. Trump knew what he was doing. He ain't the best president, but he ain't the worst either. Shit. We was at war with Obama. So what? Basically, all we basically just had Obama again. A lot of people don't even know that. That's all Joe Biden was. Obama. That's it. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. Ain't nothing to worry about, though. We'll be good. I removed him, so he can't do it. I don't know why. What's wrong with Cat now? AD, shut up! I removed. I removed him. He not a moderator no more. Y'all know each other or something? He got fired on his day off. That's catnap. You remember catnap? I guess I really don't know. But he trying to kick him for no reason, so I just took it before he do it. Because I wouldn't know how to get him back in. Oh, what the hell is he tripping? Now he tripping. He tripping. Oh, you lucky this is a chat. What's going on with him? I've never seen this side of Catnip. I never seen this type of action. Right. That's I think that's a kid though. I think that's a kid. He's only been here for like 5 days, maybe like 5 or 6 days. Use the big thing or something. Use the big bowl or something. Yeah, the moderators go crazy. See, Catnip came on a day where I think I needed mine, so I had to. I'm gonna call you Catnip. That's what I know you as. I don't know Spyro. I know you as Catnip. Hell yeah. Well, you see, get your ass in here. You can get out the same way you just got in. There y'all go. Exactly. He definitely not bigger than the fucking program. He must not know. I run a tight motherfucking ship over here. I run a very tight ship. Ain't tripping. I don't know. Maybe he trolling. Hopefully he trolling. I give him the benefit of the doubt because I really don't take it serious. I don't know. Hmm. I like Indian foods. Indian food be smelling good. Uh-huh. What is going on, bro? What I did? Now you can't be my friend. And I don't even know you, but damn, what I did? You starting to make me think you're a crazy person. Because we don't care. Exactly. Just breathe. Do like this. Give him his mod back. How do you even know it's a boy? It might be a girl. Yeah, I don't care. Thank you for apologizing. He still talk about it. In life, you're gonna have to learn, Spyro. You have to let stuff go. Just move on. You stop talking about it, it'll go on. You don't have to apologize for nothing. Let it go. Stand on what you felt. Move on. People will respect you more. When you always gotta apologize and then explain why you did this and did that, your word becomes shallow. You start to become a joke. Everything you say starts to become questionable. People are gonna laugh at you. Say what you say and stand on it. Don't apologize. Just be you. Exactly. Because you know damn well you don't apologize. You still feel like you felt. You just trying to make sure you good. Okay. Mm, a bunch of shit. French fries, chicken neck, sausage link sandwich, Coke, um, Sprite, chicken. You know I be eating a bunch of shit. Uh huh. Now I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. What's yummy? What you ate today, Precious? What you eating, Spyro? Catnap? Taco. Jalen, you gonna eat? You gonna eat peanut butter jelly sandwich? Peanut butter jelly sandwich? That shit nasty and they hard. Hey Anna, you will never meet me. I'm watching Stephen A. Smith show. The Stephen A. Smith show. It's about the closing argument between P. Diddy and the prosecution. Yeah, y'all want to hear it? I'm gonna take my headphones out so you can be able to hear Precious Lachey Shanada. Precious Shanada. Precious ain't no stanky dirty ass bitch. Precious will slap you hoes too. If I tell Precious get him, she gonna get him. Precious got the type of money to make a broke bitch bitter. Pressure be like, wait, keep safe. Which bitch you know fuck with Precious on her birthday? That was just a keep safe. Pull up in the Lamborghini, Porsche, G, and reach state.
But if all the evidence doesn't necessarily prove what you're trying to prove, it can be a problem. As it pertains to jury selection from the wide range 30 to 74, who does that favor? The defense or the prosecution? Having a wide range in the jury, because again, all it takes is one, right? So chances are, from 30 to 74, cats will think differently. If they're going to think differently, and all it takes is one, it would seem to me that a jury was, ranging with that, ranging that wide would benefit the defendants.
What was said?
If the prosecution can't do a fantastic job of tying all this together and making it
Nope.
clear to everybody in that courtroom, yes, he ran this enterprise.
I'm not getting no fucking dirty ass bunnies out.
Together and
You come kill him.
did these criminal acts over this 10-year period in furtherance of the enterprise for RICO.
You do it.
Sex trafficking, the transportation of prostitutes, that seems like they can get a conviction there. The perfect bite needs to have three things: umami and acidity, and a texture of feel in your mouth.
I miss Diddy.
Right combination, it becomes like a perfect bite. This bowl is a fun concept.
I don't miss Diddy. I said that because I'm watching this video. I don't miss Diddy. I don't miss him.
They might kill me, but the reason why Puff lots of he violated a children called Rebus Camp. Pray for me. People can come and say, be careful here, this is serious. Take this post down, please. Like, people in the comments telling you to take this post down, man. Listen, I never heard of this person called Rebus Camp. Listen, man, this is some very serious thing, man. Like, I never heard Kanye West went on a...
I ain't mean to say that.
Listen, man, this is serious, man. This is serious. Like, Kanye West knows so much. Listen, once the food in, because this one might be very interesting, man. Once the food in, remember, drop a line, let's go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I cropped all my shirts. I cut this shirt today. Back the fuck up. I'm not speaking in dog.
Right, even like yesterday, he produced a song for King Kong, which is Diddy's son, right? So right now, Kanye West and Diddy have a close relationship. 2 years ago, Kanye West wasn't showing no love to Diddy. In fact, he was trolling Diddy. He was going at Diddy very crazy. Now get me to wonder what Kanye West knows that we don't know about him. Listen, he went on Instagram and he said that the reason why Diddy
All y'all pets died?
long time because he violated and treated there, right?
Reezus
I
Kev.
don't know that person, man.
R-E-Z-U-S Kev.
I know.
Go in the cage. All them animals ain't dead. Y'all lie too much.
defense team finished up their close, and at the very end, attorney Mark Agnifilo asked the jury to acquit Sean Diddy Combs of all of the charges and to send him home to his family. And with that, there are listening rooms because the main courtroom is packed. That's where I was this morning. And then there are these overflow rooms. There are multiple overflow rooms packed full of people from the public, from the media. So many people converging on New York City because of this trial. And in one of the rooms, I can confirm to you that when Mark Agnifilo finished, the room erupted in cheers. Everyone in the room started cheering, loudly, clapping, when his closing argument was finished. Mark Agnifilo giving that close on behalf of Diddy's legal team. Numerous lawyers taking part in this process for him, and from what we understand, Diddy was quite pleased with that closing argument. Now we're in the government's rebuttal, so that is currently taking place in the courthouse behind me. Diddy's trial happening at the very top floor of this building. We're in the Southern District of New York, and they actually have two federal courthouses, Michael and Ashley. This is one of the larger one. It is beautiful inside, and it is very hard to get a seat in that courtroom. But I will tell you, when I was in there this morning, Diddy looked to be in very good spirits. I saw him looking back at his children right before court started, giving them a big smile. And then during the break, when everybody was in the morning recess, people were milling about the courtroom and talking. The judge was off the bench, and I saw one of his twin daughters hand a piece of paper to attorney Teddy Garagos, Mark Garagos' daughter, who's one of the attorneys on the Diddy team. And she then handed that paper to Diddy, and he read whatever was on it, and then he turned back around, looked at his daughter, smiled really big, and did a little bit of a fist pump, like to indicate, yeah, whatever it was, he seemed to be very happy about it. His mom looked at me in good spirits. I saw her leaving the courtroom during the break. I said hello to her. She said hello back. They all seem to be
Who fucking with you, Lucas?
relying on each other for support. As his freedom, Michael and Ashley, is on the line. If he's convicted of that sex trafficking charge, it could be 15 years.
For real.
Mandatory minimum.
All they pits died.
Two of them, one pertaining to Kathy, as you know, and one pertaining
Trey, if you don't answer me, I'm finding where you live. What is going with the people? I don't know.
Tell me if you're wrong. I want to get your opinion on this. It seems to be the overriding theme of this closing argument by the defense was essentially that this was an overreach by the prosecution, that this was about the government going into somebody's bedroom, someone like Sean Diddy Combs. And although it's admittedly a bit of a bizarre sex life, it is his personal life, it didn't extend beyond that. Would you say that's a fair sort of assessment of the way they sort of characterized this approach to the prosecution?
Yes, Michael, you're exactly right. And I have to
I already lost it.
Mark Agnifilo did a brilliant job connecting with the jury on that point. He is very engaging. His close was much.
Wait a minute, Lucas. You too?
I have to say, while they were very
Not Lucas.
very polished, very matter of fact, it was a little stiff.
Not Lucas, no.
We are America's beverage company, making American products with American workers in America's hometowns, creating
It would shock me.
the kind that require loyalty and strong work ethic.
That would shock me.
To the promise of America.
For Lucas to come in and crash out.
Join Planet Fitness today and save. Just $1 down, $15 a month.
Lies, money, and a rapper with a target on his back. These are some of the themes of the defense's closing argument in the Sean Combs criminal case. What did Diddy's main defense lawyer argue to the jury right before deliberations? Will it result in them voting not guilty to his federal sex crimes charges? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. Another important day in the Sean Combs criminal trial. The defense delivered their closing argument to the jury.
I was supposed to go out.
Their final
I think I'm
summation
going
of the
to sleep.
evidence and testimony in this case, trying to argue that Sean Diddy
Once I lay down,
should be found not guilty of racketeering conspiracy, not
I'll
guilty
be
of
sleepy.
sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura, Fine, and Jane, and not guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, the closing argument was delivered by Sean Combs' main defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo. Now, remember, this comes after the prosecution delivered their closing argument yesterday. Prosecutor Christy Slott, she highlighted how Combs operated a criminal enterprise, that the the assistants, the bodyguards. They facilitated the crimes. They covered them up. They knew what was going on. She methodically went through each and every one of the underlying predicate crimes for racketeering conspiracy. They have to prove at least two: bribery, arson, kidnapping, drug offenses, forced labor. Again, only two. Then there was the sex trafficking of Jane and Cassie. It was a very strong moment yesterday to say, look, not every sexual incident is sex trafficking. Just because a victim may consent one time or two
I'll be right back.
that
Okay.
doesn't mean they consent
Now you
all
want
the
to be
time.
all
Just
buddy. Pick a
one
side.
instance of sex trafficking for Sean
Sparrow,
Combs
shut
in
up.
their
Mind your own
program. And
business.
they provided,
Exactly.
and Slavin provided multiple concrete specific examples with respect to each victim that the jury can choose from. Transportation to engage in prostitution, literally transporting men and these alleged victims for the purposes of sex work. Through the credit card statements, travel records, text messages, voice notes. The argument was they
I need
directly
to see my
tied
nails.
to paying and arranging the transport of the victims and men for the purposes of sex work. So, what did the defense say in response today? By the way, we also heard from the prosecution in their rebuttal closing too. Very short, but arguably impactful as well. Okay, so for that and more, let me bring in once again Law and Crime's in-court reporter Elizabeth Milner, who was inside that courtroom for all of the closing arguments from both, again, Mark Niccolo, the defense attorney, and we also heard from Maureen Comey, the main prosecutor in this case, delivering a rebuttal. We'll get to that in a minute. Elizabeth, great to see you. Let's talk about Mark Niccolo. So how did he start off, right? It seems like he started off basically by saying, this is not what the prosecution wants you to believe, right? There's no sex trafficking here. It seemed like he really focused on the idea of text messages as evidence and really said this wasn't a federal crime, took aim at both Cassie and Jane. What were some of the opening remarks that stood out to you about this?
Well, a lot of parts of this closing argument really stood out to me, specifically the way that Mark Nicolo's tone was to the jury, and pretty much their final message to the jury before they eventually go and deliberate, which it looks like that will now start on Monday. But in terms of just him approaching the jury, he was very personable, really kind of pulling out that Mark Nicolo charge. Like literally one of the first lines he said in his closing argument was, this is a tale of two trials. The first trial is about witnesses and videos and texts and evidence. He said the second trial was just kind of
Nope.
word of
I do tomorrow and
He
Sunday.
was saying that this case is badly exaggerated. He said it's made up,
Nope.
in other words. He also said it's about personal use.
I work longer shifts, so I work less days.
Swinger type of lifestyle that, you know, as far as
I still work a 40-hour week like y'all do, but
occurred or
I just work less days because I work more hours throughout the day. 10 hours, 16 hours, long shifts.
He was saying that the evidence shows that Sean Combs is a self-made, successful black entrepreneur. He's done something that's hard to do and have wonderful, successful, legitimate businesses. He says how many government witnesses said that they were moved by Sean Combs, that being with him was like drinking from a fire hose. He taught me great work ethic.
Oh, it'll be tomorrow, sadly.
Did they always like him? Did the assistants always like him? Did his staff always like him? No way. That wasn't always the case, but they loved him. And then they kind of brought it back to Mia a little bit, where Mia had implied that she felt like she wanted to self-harm, mainly because she had lost her position over at Combs Enterprises, which is not to be confused with the criminal enterprise that the government is alleged. But in terms of just everything, including Derek Ferguson, who had also testified, he was the former chief financial officer over at Bad Boy.
Spyro just won't stop.
He's a handsome black man, and the reason that he wanted to work at Bad Boy is because he Sean Combs was giving people who look like him opportunities that people of color may have not gotten elsewhere. And so even he made kind of one line that I thought was interesting, where he said diversity, equity, and inclusion. He was doing that. He, again, being Sean Combs, was doing that in his early 20s, as early as his 24 years old. And he says that the government says his businesses are racketeering, but then the defense pointed out that none of the witnesses said that they were a part of a racketeering enterprise. None of the witnesses got on the stand and said, yes, I'm a part of this racketeering conspiracy. He said none of that. And so it really was a pretty strong opening just in the first few lines, first few minutes of the defense's closing argument.
So look, I know our content can be a lot at times. Sometimes you need a breather, right? Let me ask you this. Have you ever wanted to just escape to a game that's relaxing, maybe a little magical? Hey, criminal enterprise or criminal agreement, what do you say?
said a lot about racketeering conspiracy and emphasizing that it's a racketeering conspiracy, not just racketeering just alone in itself. And so Margaret Nicola was talking about the whole common purpose of the enterprise members and how the defense was mentioning that Sean Combs was charged by himself. No one in this courtroom had testified again that they were a part of a criminal enterprise, that they were even doing acts that were considered to be crimes, and that he was saying, and Margaret Nicola was saying that there is a gaping lack of evidence. He says that he was trying to do this enterprise by what? Having sex with his girlfriend? And so then when they go into the RICO conspiracy, the defense is saying that he's not charged again with racketeering, but racketeering conspiracy. He points out that the government never called a co-conspirator to testify. Let me just say this, Jesse. One of the alleged co-conspirators was actually inside the courtroom, and that being Bashir Mohammed, one of Diddy's security guards. And I think that was kind of interesting that they had brought him kind of on the defense's closing, but also that he's one of the alleged co-conspirators. He was inside that courtroom listening to the closing argument. I was thinking at points that his name was, said out loud by either the prosecution or the defense that he was maybe like too distant, and there was really none of that. But in terms of just KK and her role, again, KK being Christina Cora, Margaret Nicola said everyone needs a KK, and I thought that was interesting because I looked over in Sean Combs' direction when that specific line was said, and Diddy was nodding at that point, where again, Margaret Nicola saying everyone needs a KK because she's the right-hand woman to Sean Combs. Anything that he needed, he got for her, but not in a criminal type of way. And so the defense also pointed out a specific incident involving Kerry Morgan and Cassie Ventura line, where Diddy had brought allegedly a hammer over to Cassie's apartment. And so the defense was pointing out that instead of calling the police or anything like that, that Kerry Morgan and Cassie Ventura are now fine, they reached out to Christina Quorum. They reached out to D-Rock, and then Margaret Nicola said, did anyone say that KK or D-Rock was a co-conspirator? The government makes it sinister that he has personal security because obviously he's a high-powered celebrity. Of course, he's going to be one to have a security personnel and staff at his kind of beck and call when needed because he's a high-profile figure. They even at point Margaret Nicola was saying, okay, does Beyonce go to CBS? No, she sends her assistant to go to CBS on her behalf. And so Margaret Nicola was kind of pointing out that Sean Combs wasn't charged with firearms. He wasn't charged with anything to do with John Richard. He wasn't charged with the incident with Kerry Morgan with the wooden hanger. He wasn't charged standalone about Cassie's violence and the assault. So Margaret Nicola was really kind of pointing out in terms of just the security aspect when Cassie was testifying about how she had to hold firearms for Diddy in her purse. Margaret Nicola said, okay, it was because security gave her the weapon. That's why, and again, kind of pointing to the fact that security is doing what security does for a high-profile individual. That is carry weapons, carry firearms, pointing out that it was legal for them to be carrying these firearms. And even in terms of just Cassie Ventura and the whole Daniel Phillip aspect, and I know we're going to talk more about kind of the sex trafficking part a little towards the end. It's just that they Margaret Nicola kind of pointed out here that
Who the fuck you talking to?
Daniel Phillip to urinate on her. And
Who the fuck you talking to, Noe? Noe Mo?
Getting his final message out to the jury, he said, okay, at what point do you stop trusting the government? He says the government targeted Sean Combs because of Cassie's lawsuit. He says that's what makes it different from
Who the fuck you talking to?
that he has defended, where he says, okay, today you being the jury, are the United States of America.
Exactly, Lucas.
Sean Combs on all counts and returning to his family who's been waiting for him. And that was his final message, the defense's final message to the jury before, and of course we're going to talk about the prosecution rebuttal a little bit later, but in terms of just that final message, that's what Mark Nicola had to say to those jurors.
Yep. This is the story of the one. As a lineman, it's his job to keep the power on. That's why he chooses Granger for professional grade products and next day delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call, click, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Which path is right for you? If you're 18 to 25 and you're ready to make that transition to transform your life and get paid too, you can. That's what the California Conservation Corps is all about. From wildland firefighting to culinary arts, the CCC has the meaningful
Get your broke ass out of here, bitch. Nah. Run that. Get your broke ass out of here. All that yibble yabble, bitch. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. Get your broke ass out of here. Y'all nerves to try to talk about somebody weight or something. Get your nasty ass out of here, all that motherfucking talking.
Final message. That's what Mark Nicola had to say to those jurors.
Yeah, I know we went a little backwards because I wanted to go to the racketeer because it is the gap charge, and that's how we ended it. I think it was smart the last thing the jury hears about why this is
Free
originally
picking.
not racketeering. And
I
also
can't
know
stand no
that Mark
motherfucking
Nicola
bully.
got in trouble.
Trying to free pick. You ain't getting a dime out of it.
He's not
Shut the hell
allowed to
up.
say he targeted Sean Combs. The judge took issue with that, thought that was totally improper, gave a curative instruction to the jury about that as well. Basically disregard that comment. You mentioned sex trafficking. Let's go back to it. Why did he argue, how did he argue that what happened to Jane, or what allegedly happened to Jane, what allegedly happened to Cassie Ventura, why is this not sex trafficking? Because I think one thing that, really stood out to me is emphasizing consent and emphasizing their willing participants. But didn't he said something to the effect of, so we were saying this is consensual, this is consensual, this is consensual, then all of a sudden, not only is this not consensual, this jumps to sex trafficking. That's a wild jump to make. Why was he saying that sex trafficking is not the appropriate charge for Sean Combs when it comes to Cassie or Jane?
One of the main points that the defense is really trying to kind of put in the jury's head is that Sean Combs had no idea that Cassie nor Jane really didn't want to be doing these freak-offs or welcome nights, hotel nights, whatever you want to call them. But let's say to your point, Jesse, that this is sex trafficking because they initially consented. Now, the government kind of bounced back a little bit from that, but in terms of just people kind of understanding sex trafficking as a whole, the government was making it clear that it only takes one instance for him to be found guilty, whereas Mark Nicola was like, okay, well, where's the line drawn? If they're doing 75 different freak-offs and 76 is a little different from the first 75, is that make him guilty of sex trafficking? And that was really kind of the message that he was sending to the jury. But in terms of just counts 2 and 4 specifically related to Cassie and Jane, and when it comes to Cassie specifically, Mark Nicola was like, okay, I suppose you can sex traffic your girlfriend if you sell her into prostitution. They're swingers. This is a lifestyle. Again, kind of, that was a common theme throughout his closing, was that this was just an alternative lifestyle, that these were just swingers, and that these were just people who were engaging in threesomes, that they were adults, that they were making these choices. And he kind of said something interesting where he was like, okay, well, if your partner likes anal, but you don't
He back?
like anal, can you stop doing anal? It was kind of really like an, oh my God, look, it's a little bit quick off. Some people in the gallery kind of just be like, what did he just say? But in terms of just Mark Nicola kind of painting this as consensual, he was saying that this is what people
What's
do.
Pharaoh said?
They do things that maybe they don't necessarily want to do, but they do it because they love their partner, and that doesn't amount to sex trafficking. So when it comes to
Catnap gone.
he was saying things like your life,
Bye-bye.
your life become one, and
We tired of that shit tonight.
clutching her pearls and the idea of doing
I'm taking everybody mod back. We only keeping my regular mods back. We gotta get rid of all the mods now.
That was what had happened at Condom Film Festival.
Trey can stay too. Everybody else, they gonna have to go.
Cassie Ventura was beaten and then was forced, according to the government, to still do a break off. And then they point to the Intercontinental Hotel incident. But one thing that was interesting, Jesse, is that they played the Intercontinental Hotel video during the defense's closing argument.
We gotta be careful now.
Really kind of took it piece by piece, but I think
Nobody can't get mod like that no more.
the part where Sean Combs is seen on that surveillance video dragging, beating, kicking Cassie Ventura when she was on the ground. And so in the defense's argument, they were saying that this whole thing was just domestic violence, that this is not sex trafficking. And the defense used one of Cassie's own Instagram posts against her, specifically the one after this CNN surveillance videotape, which we now know to be kind of a snippet of what had happened in 2016 at the Intercontinental Hotel, where Cassie made this post after kind of seeing this amount of support, where she was saying, domestic violence is the issue. Mark Nicola kind of pointed it out to be like, okay, she not once said sex trafficking was the issue. None of that. And so it was one of those things where it seemed like the defense was kind of using the alleged victim's words against her. And so then there were other points. So when it came to sex trafficking as it pertains to Jane, Mark Nicola says that it's a little bit different than Cassie Ventura, where that Jane had liked all the trappings, that she was more focused on what she was getting out of it, that the world could actually see. So seeing the things of them being on social media, those types of things. But then they kind of point to the sex trafficking instances that the government pointed out. So One example was September 2023, where the government claimed that this was an instance of sex trafficking, and then the defense showed the jury text messages from the
Good night.
back in September 18th of 2023, where Jane had liked the text with the link for Cowboys for Angels. The defense says Jane Austen didn't like the entertainers, and that she was able to kind of send them packing. So they bring out one text message from Jane that we could see in an exhibit where Jane was saying, okay, this is the payload sent on Venmo for their bum a cowboy, because this cowboy couldn't necessarily perform, or she wasn't attracted to some of the things to that effect. And so the defense says that this bum a cowboy was still paid, and then they brought up the sex or excuse me, that they brought up the sobriety party in October of 2023, where the defense says that Jane was upset about Gina, but she still agreed to do this hotel night. And Mark Nicholas said people do things because she wanted to do things at the time. Maybe she just regrets it. She agreed to it, and that's pretty much it. And so even in terms of Jane getting her rent paid and those types of things, Mark Niccolo is kind of really he's animated throughout his cross-examination, but at this point he was saying that Jane previously had a crappy lawyer. Those were literally the words that he had used when it comes to her child support, and that Sean Combs was just doing a nice thing, helping take care of another man's child, providing that child, and then of course the child's mother with a nice home, the home that he's still paying for even to this day, even while he's still being incarcerated, and that's about $10,000 a month just on rent alone. And so Mark Niccolo says that Jane and Sean Combs were kind of into the porn scene, and how Jane even, brought escorts herself, or found these escorts herself, specifically naming Cabral and Antoine. And so in kind of the last instance that they were talking about was what had happened June 18th, 19th of just last year. And so Mark Niccolo said nothing happens this night. They've never been physical before. She slammed his head into the counter. Why did she do this? Without any reasonable explanation at all. The defense saying, why is she calling him that word? And that word being a pedophile, because Sean Combs is dating a 21-year-old. And so the defense was saying that Jane was just trying to get a rise out of him, and that they were pointing out that Jane changed into a dress as opposed to sweat, and she was trying to get away, and that Mark Niccolo claims she wasn't hiding behind a wall for 2 hours, that there's no way that this could have happened. But that Niccolo admits that there was some kind of physical contact that night. He did admit that, he did say that Jane did have physical injury to her face, something that the jury could see, because unfortunately this was a particular exhibit that we couldn't see. But he says that nothing about this night makes any type of sense. So really kind of putting that reasonable doubt in those jurors' minds, just as it pertains to count 2 and count 4, again, those being sex trafficking in relation to alleged victim 1, that being Cassie Ventura Fine, and alleged victim 2, that of course being Jane.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when he was like, Cassie even called it domestic violence. She didn't call it sex trafficking. That this was all about love. That domestic violence was a charge here. He was like guilty to it. That this is all about money. They didn't call 911. They got civil lawyers. I think it was really interesting when he highlighted how Cassie left. Eventually, she left the relationship. She could have always left. What happened to her? Nothing happened to her. Real quick, before we move on to transportation to engage in prostitution, he did spend a little time talking about the underlying predicate crimes of racketeering and the other alleged victims in this case, whether it's Kid Cudi, Mia, Capricorn Clark, basically said that testimony doesn't support the charges. Real quick, what did he say about those 3 individuals and those underlying predicate crimes, right? Arson, kidnapping, forced labor.
Yeah, so in terms of Kid Cudi, the defense is saying that Cassie played Kid Cudi, and something that Kid Cudi had been testified to. Mark Niccolo said the government wants you to believe that she was so scared to death of Sean Combs, but she wasn't afraid of him. Mark Niccolo claims that Cassie was lying to both Sean Combs and to Kid Cudi because Cassie was trying to keep it gangsta, that she had 2 hotel rooms when Sean Combs had found out that she was seeing Kid Cudi. One was a freak off that they were engaged in around that time frame, but also another hotel room where she had kept this burner phone, and that the burner phone was the reason that she had all these secrets and all of that stuff. And so in terms of just Kid Cudi, the defense really kind of pointing out about the glove that the fire investigator didn't talk about when they showed all those photos to the jury. They were even talking about the female partial DNA that was found. They have to kind of really emphasize that the partial DNA was it kind of matched a female person, but the investigation really stalled in 2011. Nothing really happened. No charges came about. out from that particular moment. And in terms of Capricorn Clark, the defense spent a lot of time talking about Capricorn Clark, where they had talked about the 2004 alleged kidnapping of her, where she was taken to an abandoned building that was going to eventually be turned into one of the bad boy offices, and that she was the government alleges, and Capricorn Clark testified to this too, that she was forced to take these lie detector tests day after day after day after day. And the defense says that it wasn't kidnapping because she was able to go home every single day. That the Capricorn Clark testified that she kept doing it because she wanted to get her job back. And the defense asked the jury at this moment, do you guys feel kidnapped being here inside the courtroom? Because y'all get to go home every day. So again, kind of making it seem a little personal to the jury at some point, but also kind of making it seem like Capricorn Clark, this didn't happen. She wasn't kidnapped because she had the free will to go home every single day. And at any point she could have stopped. But in terms of just the 2011 kidnapping of Capricorn Clark, the defense kind of talked about Capricorn Clark and that she was super platonic friends with Sean Combs, and that they were kind of sprinkling in that Capricorn Clark kind of had a crush on Sean Combs, and then even Margaret Nicola at one point says, okay, well she's, somewhat of a little off kilter, but really kind of saying that Capricorn Clark had tested Sean.
I guess I'm not the easiest person to please. I like things just right. That's why I love Red Home recommendations. They know what I want even before I do. A home that's just right.
Yeah.
Never press control the bags and XL size. If you crave it, you can save it.
I feel so confident in weight loss by herd. I'm down to my full weight. My friends and family are all noticing my results and how happy I am now. I just took a free online assessment to get started, and medications delivered straight to my door and prescribed. I love that I get 24/7 messaging with providers through the Hers app at no extra cost. That way all my injection questions are answered. It even includes an app with tracking tools that remind me to stay consistent with my healthy habits. It also gives me delicious, nutritious recipes. It's like having a little extra help in my pocket anytime I need it. And ongoing check-ins are included at no extra cost too, so I feel very supported. I never have to leave home to go to doctor's appointments, which is great. If I had known all of this, I would have started my weight loss journey way sooner.
Texted Sean Combs that this part of chemistry, but really the defense's main point of this particular argument was kind of just that there was no type of way that Sean Combs had a gun on his person at this time, because why would he have a gun? That was one of the reasons that this might not have even happened. The defense also pointing out that Cassie was the one that gave Sean Combs Kid Cudi's address, and that Sean Combs had everything to lose, so why would he point a gun at one of his staff members and allegedly kidnap her? He also pointed out that Capricorn Clark wouldn't have stayed employed if a gun was actually pulled on her, and that Kid Cudi and Cassie said that Capricorn never said that Sean Combs had a gun. So really kind of planting those seeds of doubt into the jury's mind about whether or not it was a gun. There was it not, but I also think the main thing is, like, do you believe the witnesses? Do you believe what they have to say? Are they all kind of making this up, or do they all not remember those types of things? And so even in terms of just Mia, really kind of when it falls to RICO and just the underlying predicate act, they really were talking about the alleged witness tampering, where Margaret Nicola was saying that the government didn't tell the jury that Mia had sent a message saying that she was out of Trillo meaning money, and that's why D-Rock had messaged her around that time frame, saying that if you need anything, I might be able to help you. Because, and it's interesting, Jesse, they said that specific line about Mia saying that she was out of Trillo, because Alexandra Shapiro also used that particular line when they were doing that motion for judgment of acquittal. And so, we were talking about it before on Sidebar a couple of days ago. We were like, okay, this might be a preview of what we can expect for the closing argument, and given that those two lines pretty much were exactly the same, it really did feel like, okay, the defense really wanted to make sure that the jury had the full context of why D-Rock might have been reaching out to her.
Yeah, and look, I think there's room for reasonable doubt there. I really do. Now, some might say, is he minimizing too much of this and trying to explain too much of this, even saying things like, oh, wasn't, bribery, wasn't trying to tamper with the witness. He was just trying to protect himself, for the underlying crimes. I get it. I don't know where exactly he went with transportation to engage in prostitution. What was the defense to that?
So Jesse, I really didn't know where the defense was really kind of going to go in that particular argument as pertains to count 3 and count 5, that is transportation to engage in prostitution. But Mark Agnifilo mentioned that the government only called 2 of the many exports that were used between the time that Sean Combs was with Cassie over and spilling into the time that Sean Combs was with Jan. And it was a lot of exports that were shown to the jury just yesterday, and it was really kind of laid out in terms of just even some of the exports overlapping between Cassie and between Jane, but the government only called 2 of those exports. That being Daniel Phillips and that being Sheree Hayes, aka the Punisher. And so Mark Agnifilo said that both of these men says that it wasn't sex for money and that they weren't prostitutes, and that they did testify to that. They said that they weren't prostitutes. They said that they were just paid for their time, the experience. But Mark Agnifilo again asking, why did the government just call more escorts to the stand? And even saying things like, were these the cheapest that they could get? They didn't travel anywhere because they were always here in New York. And so the defense pointed out that Daniel Phillips says that he didn't even ask for a single dollar for spending those nights in the hotel room, doing those break offs with Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura. And even when it comes to Sheree Hayes, aka the Punisher, that Sheree Hayes testified that he goes there to set a sexy scene, and that he went over there one time, got $500, and didn't even have sex with Cassie Ventura. And so Mark Agnifilo said that there's no evidence that there was negotiation of sex for money. And the defense says that the sex videos, especially the videos of the freak-offs, or in some cases as it comes or as it pertains to Jane, that this was just homemade porn. It says that adult film stars, they pay porn stars that they can pay, but they're not prostitutes. So why does that apply to the men that were using what the defense calling the private time or the personal time when it comes to Sean Combs?
Interesting. So, then we come to the rebuttal closing argument from Prosecutor Maureen Comey. What were some of the main themes that stood out? It was obviously shorter than the first closing argument, but this is the last thing, okay? This is the last opportunity. It's their case, and they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. What were some of the main highlights from the rebuttal closing from Maureen Comey, the prosecutor?
Well, let's say this, Jesse, that I think AUSA Maureen Comey was a lot more animated and a lot more, I think, direct and personal with the jury as opposed to Christy Slavic, who really kind of was just, for the most part, she was very, very methodical, a word that I've been using often describing her, the prosecution's closing argument. But with the rebuttal, Maureen Comey, she was really like, okay, this is my final message to the jury, and I really want you to know this. And she was even using her hands at that point. She was kind of saying, the defense wants you to believe that this happened. And that was kind of the tone of it. But right off the bat, Maureen Comey says the defense spent a whole lot of energy. She really was kind of exaggerating her words here, where she says they put a whole lot of energy into blaming the victim, the United States government. But the prosecution says in Sean Combs' world, he couldn't take no for an answer. And again, that was a common theme throughout the prosecution's closing argument, even for the first time and then in the rebuttal. And so Maureen Comey mentioned that the burden of proof is on the United States government, and that the defense didn't have to call a single witness, but they welcomed that burden because they believe they proved their case. And so in terms of just some of the biggest highlights, they brought it back to the payment for sex, where Maureen Comey said he wasn't flying escorts all over the country just for their conversation. His money was used for sex, and that Daniel Phillips had testified that he got paid for sex, and that he couldn't perform, and that when he couldn't perform, he didn't get any kind of money. And so Maureen Comey said that the argument that all the escorts weren't called to testify was just a distraction, and that Comey said that Sean Combs made Cassie make sure that these men weren't cops, they weren't undercover cops, something that the jury has seen in text messages where somebody has messaged, okay, you're not a cop, right, those types of things. And so Maureen Comey said the only reason to worry about undercover cops is because this is illegal. When it came to count 1, that being racketeering conspiracy, Comey said that the uncalled witnesses were equally available to both sides, both the prosecution and both the defense. And so I think kind of tried to imply, like, okay, well, if you don't think that these people are co-conspirators, why didn't the defense call them? And she specifically named Christina Forbes and E-Rock. And so Maureen Comey said, you have an enterprise here. The law doesn't require anyone to use the words that they were in a racketeering enterprise. You don't have to come up to the stand and be like, yes, I am a criminal on that specific charge. And so even in terms of just the 2011 alleged kidnapping of Capricorn Park, Comey says that both Cassie and Kid Cudi testified that Capricorn Park was forced to go over to Kid Cudi's home. The government says that Combs used guns with men, but he snitched with women, kind of going back to the Suge Knight incident and going back to just the whole gun aspect of this case. When it came to the London hotel incident with Cassie, the government says it doesn't matter that Cassie wanted to go to Sean Combs' home. She was forced to go to the hotel, that she couldn't even leave because her mother, and so again pointing to that is proof of kidnapping. When it came to the arson of Kid Cudi's Porsche, the government says that the whole glove thing that the defense was trying to use, where they were like, okay, why isn't the jury shown photos of the glove or anything like that? Well, the prosecution said that the glove was Kid Cudi's. That's the simplest answer to this, but they also mentioned that Cassie's testimony about Sean Combs specifically threatening to blow up Kid Cudi's car, and then we all know a Molotov cocktail was launched into that car, and we all know in 2011 what ended up happening. The photos of it. Kid Cudi had testified to it. Even in terms of just drugs, the defense was talking about drugs. They were saying it was all for personal use, that this was a crime, that again, the assistants were getting Sean Combs drugs because he might have been a drug addict, but at the same time, this isn't criminal, this isn't drug distribution. But the government said no requirement for drugs to be distributed in large quantities, because even I myself thought, okay, drug distribution means that it has to be kilos, lots of drugs, but it really could even come down to personal drugs. And she said just giving drugs to another person, that was against the law. And she said that the defendant is guilty of racketeering conspiracy, because again, she's not talking about marijuana or anything like that. She's talking about cocaine and ecstasy, GHB, things that were pretty much essential to these hotel nights and freak-offs. And so even in terms of just the hotel nights and freak-offs, Jesse, that Maureen Comey said that testified that Sean Combs directed the escort to urinate in her mouth, and pointed out that both Cassie and James told Sean Combs that they didn't want to be doing this particular night. Comey then said that there were 3 women who had no motive to lie. It was Cassie, it was Dean, and it was Tina. Cassie, because she had already gotten her settlement. Why did she need to lie? She already has the money. If anything, if she were to get on the stand and lie, that would just make her look bad. When it came to James didn't even file a lawsuit against Sean Combs. And when it came to Mia had already gotten her settlement years earlier. And so I think I think the government really kind of bringing it all together, because they had the last and final words in the jury.
Yeah, the question is, all these people are lying. Really, what is their incentive to lie, particularly if there's a lack of financial motivation? And again, I think the idea, so the defense is saying that Cassie wanted to be, urinated on, Jane wanted to have sex after being beaten, Mia wanted to be sexually violated, they wanted to be drenched in baby oil and having UTIs and wearing high heels. I think both sides are saying, what is common sense here? The defense has a very fair argument, the prosecution has a fair argument. You see what the jury ultimately decides. Monday they're coming back, jury instructions, beginning of deliberations. We shall see. Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber.
Fentanyl wasn't invited, but it's here, hiding in party drugs like MDMA and cocaine. And those pills that look like Xanax, Adderall, more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and Astroglide, and drugs for personal use. Wow, sounds like a big party. The defense talks back in his closing argument today, and Sean made Combs' criminal platform, mocking the prosecution for the highly touted seizures by federal agents in the raids on the moguls' homes. Agents seizing what defense suggests sounds like a Tuesday trip to the local drugstore for Team Combs. The defense today suggested the trial is a farce and that evidence failed to prove any criminal conduct by Combs, but rather highlighted the swinger lifestyle and modern love story of the record executive jury. I'm criminal defense attorney Sarah Azari, and this is Serving Justice, where we break down this crucial final day before the jury begins deliberations and the trial that has captured the nation's attention. I'm joined today by famed trial attorney, my friend Joe Tacopino, whose defended just a few high-profile clients of Joe during his very illustrious career. Joe, thanks for joining us. And plus, News Nation digital reporter Cynthia Lee, who's been following this trial since the beginning, and News Nation field producer Tommy Rosaldi, who has been in the courtroom today with a lot of insight. So thank you, everyone. Joe, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you had your own trial. Now you're coming and talking about this brother's trial. So it means a lot to me. I want to start with.
Yeah, so I don't work. I just came out of work. So,
Okay. Yeah, so we'll get out of here as soon as possible. So, first question to you, Joe. How do you think the defense did in closing argument?
I look, it was expected. Mark did a great job, I thought. Looking at the fact that they exaggerated the Carnegie lifestyle, which is certainly odd, certainly unappealing to many, not most. Certainly criminal activity involved, and turn that into a racketeering enterprise. And that's, you know, and that's what I'm saying all along. I mean, yes, he has this ridiculous sort of fetish thing going on. He has these freak offs where he likes to watch those girls with other people. But again, we have three charges here. One is a racketeering enterprise. He's charged by himself in a racketeering enterprise. I mean, and what's the enterprise? Bad boy records. It's not a criminal enterprise. I mean, the guy on top may have committed crime that automatically made an organization from a racketeering enterprise. So I think people in the jury are going to be into the fact that, look, a racketeering enterprise is, you know, a serious thing. It's cartels, it's organized crime.
Right.
And it has to be just that. But it's not one guy on top of a record label who acts like a dirtball at times. Right. Horrific things, method matter.
And they own that, Joe. They own the domestic violence. You can't have just because a guy at the top has committed crimes doesn't make it a criminal enterprise.
It doesn't. And that's what the defense is saying here. I mean, they're really pointing out the fact that there's not been evidence of criminal enterprise. There's been evidence of a guy who owns a major record label, an organization, who's done some bad things. He's done some criminal acts. He's done drugs. He's been in domestic matter. All these different things. Even if you want to take that you blew up anybody's car, you know,
you still need an enterprise.
Why is that not just something you want to take just boyfriend?
Right.
Make it a racketeering.
Right. That's what I've been saying all along, that there's all these predicate acts, like even if they prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, you still need the enterprise. And by the way, the practice conspiracy, I thought it was great when Identical said, you know, the body analogy where he said essentially, like, if you had a problem with Gotti, would you go to his sidekick for help, which was Christina Forum in this equation? Like, why would you go to her and she was like the one that, you know, was the loving one, was caring for everybody, taking care of all the problems. Like, how is she co-conspirator? And where is she? She's like the phantom of this trial. It's bizarre to me. The one charge, Joe, that I think the prosecution has met its burden on is the Mann Act violation. It's easy, it's straightforward. But the defense says, and I know, you and I know that we sometimes have to come up with things that are not the defense says that the escort services were, first of all, legal businesses, you know, we didn't know that there was anything illegal. And that the payment to the escorts was for their time, not sex. How do you think the jury got it?
I mean, it's like saying, all right, I hired a lawyer, I'm paying him for his time, not his legal advice. That's the simple. What are you going to listen? Here's the rule of thumb. When the law's on your side, you argue the law's fair. When the facts are on your side, you argue the facts. When neither are on your side, you count the tables, right? So, I mean, what are they going to do here? So, you know, it's an act, it's a count, and it is never wrong. No one ever teaches you.
And you know what? Like, I also been saying, like, if I was on the defense team, I wouldn't be too mad at this, because sometimes when a jury doesn't like the guy on trial, They want to get him on something. This is a bad guy. This is really bad things, and he's never been held accountable for them. So we don't want to let him walk. And at least this is in the mix. You know, they can split the baby on something.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna do it, I guess that's the kind to do it on.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Real quick to Sophia, and then back to you, Tony. The defense struck a far different tone today than the prosecution did yesterday. More sarcastic, very flippant. At one point, calling Cassie a gangster and calling the trial within the trial a farce. I don't think it played the jury. Sitting down with Barbara Walters. I know you don't want to talk about guys. I ain't gonna find anybody. No one ever gonna know. Totally.
We knew they were going to do this, and everybody predicted it. I'm sure even the jury knew this was coming. They had to hammer trash Cassie. They had to go after her because they couldn't go after her when she was on the stand. But she is, and we've been saying this from the beginning, she is a really strong, compelling witness. And so calling her a gangster, they called her the winner in all of this. So like, if anyone's the winner in all of this, it's Cassie.
Prosecution delivered their fiery closing argument in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial, highlighting why these are episodes of sex trafficking, why the evidence proves Combs operated a criminal enterprise.
Diddy was coming under fire for trying to tamper with witnesses while he was arrested. There are several people who were initially named to be witnesses. They just suddenly disappeared. I'm aware of a lot of things taking place in Black Town. People receiving a lot of payment. Yeah, definitely. That's where on my only ground. And the guy that's called screaming to call 911 is the person who was on the other end of the gunfight. He came to kill me, but when he thought he was gonna die, he was begging for God. And due to the situation, circumstances, I decided that it's probably best for me to live outside of the state. Wow. Why? There are some adequate and imminent threats to me.
In the first week of Sean Diddy Combs' trial for sex trafficking and racketeering, spokesman former bodyguard Big Homie put a series of bombshell revelations about how he expected the trial to play out.
I expect to see a lot of strange things take place. I expect to see the defense team do a lot of steps to lighten the image of Combs. And we've been watching that take place.
Somebody didn't want me to do this interview. I've had FBI come to my house before and tell me they found a
If you're good educated, I'm glad you made it. Allow me to unfold my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from a good brother's point of view to all of you. Kids there and everywhere. Now check me out.
Arguments are now underway in the Sean Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial after
Arguments are now underway at the Sean Combs trafficking and racketeering trial.
You got to deal with Tyler. You got to deal with Tyler. When you talk about the jealousy that the music industry has for black men, it's insane. It's insane. Tyler Perry goes to the BET Awards gives a speech, and he's an excellent orator, by the way. I'm an orator. I study oratory. Tyler Perry could have been a pastor or a community activist. He's a very good speaker, very good public speaker. He says that I've made more millionaires than every other studio in this city combined. That's what he said. And don't you know, I don't know if it was the next day, but it was definitely the same week. All of a sudden, he gets hit with a $260 million lawsuit from Derek Dixon, who met Tyler Perry in 2019 as an employee of an event company. So he was working at one of the events that Tyler Perry contracted his event company to come to and host. He met Tyler Perry here. Tyler Perry invited him to audition for an upcoming show called Ruthless. Later on, Tyler Perry tells him, allegedly, according to Derek Dixon's attorney, Tyler Perry told him, I can change your life. Stick with me, I can change your whole life. He then invites him to audition for a role on The Old. Tyler Perry's series, The Old. Derek Dixon starred in 85 episodes of The Old in 2020 or 2021 until 2024-23. In January of
So what happened?
Right before COVID, Tyler Perry texted, allegedly, texted Derek Dixon and said, among other things, I can't remember the last time I had really good sex. Now, as a heterosexual man, if another man sends me a text telling me he can't remember the last time he had good sex, I already know that that ain't somebody I need to be around alone. Because he clearly got the wrong idea about me. In fact, I'm going to have to let him go. In the future there, I don't even know about the sex life. So Tyler Perry texted him. You know, he can't remember the last time he had great sex. And then he invites Derek Dixon to his house. Derek Dixon goes to Tyler Perry's house in Georgia. He says, allegedly, according to the criminal for the city. He says, Tyler Perry gave him some drinks. They were talking. He started to feel a little tipsy. It got late. Tyler Perry tells Derek, it's a little too late for you to drive home tonight. You've been drinking. I have a guest bedroom. Come and stay in my guest bedroom. Derek Dixon goes to the guest bedroom. He's tired. He's drinking. He's ready to sleep. Then he lays down. And at some point, Tyler Perry comes into the room, slips into the bed behind him, and starts rubbing it inside of his thigh. Now, Art, you don't leave. You don't touch him. You don't get dressed and call an Uber or get in his car and get him out of it. In fact, he goes back to work like nothing happened. You could have sued him right there. But he said, and this is where I think Tyler Perry has some room to stand in the middle. Derek repeatedly alleged that he was concerned about his job and his career. Well, if you're concerned about your job and your career, and this black man is sexually harassing you, why not turn him in? Why isn't your manhood or your self-respect, even if you're homosexual? Even if you're homosexual, if this man is sexually assaulted you, because you can be sexually assaulted as a homosexual as well, why not turn him in? Why are you saying I put up with it for the sake of the job?
What up, Trey?
To me, you are collaborating and voluntarily participating in this because you could have ended this a long time ago. So anyway, Mark, he said that Tyler Perry, about this whole relationship in 2020 to 2024, is grabbing his butt cheeks. said one day Tyler Perry comes into his trailer, grabs him violently by the neck, grabs his butt. Then he says a couple of months later, there was another incident. Then the following year, in June of 2021, he said Tyler Perry pulled his underwear down hard.
Oh.
Help me out. Help me out. If this man allegedly pulled your underwear down and grabbed your ass cheeks, why are you not going to a lawyer or going to the police? This man is a billionaire. He's a billionaire. Why are you hanging around? He said,
Exactly.
Tyler Perry coerced him into accepting the sexual exploitation because Tyler Perry promised him his own show. Tyler Perry promised him career advancement. He allegedly, Tyler Perry was going to provide him with career advancement opportunities. So he said he felt like he had to endure this sexual harassment, so it would mess up his options. As far as I'm concerned, that means you volunteered.
Exactly.
You volunteered. You were willing to accept it because you thought you would get something out of it. Then he says, Art, around June of 2024, Derek Dixon comes to a senses and he decides that Tyler Perry has been lying to me this entire 4.5-year relationship. He's been lying. 2020 to June of 2021, that's 4.5, he's been lying. So he said once he came to his realization that he'd been lying, he decided to stop showing up for work. He said Tyler Perry told him he had to take an unpaid medical leave. That's when he got with his lawyer, and that's when he decided, here's where I'm at. Same mistake as Smokey, same mistake as Shane. Tyler Perry wasn't taken care of. Allegedly, Art. Because Tyler Perry has not admitted to being bisexual. He has not admitted to any of these crimes. So I'm saying allegedly. If what this man is saying is true, Tyler Perry made the same mistake as Smokey Robinson, Shannon Sharp, and some of the other black men dating non-black people. You didn't take care of it. From what I read, Art, he was being paid $10,000 an episode. And then when he got upset with Tyler Perry, allegedly, he went up to $15,000 an episode or maybe $25,000 an episode. However that goes on forward. But initially, he was going to get about $10,000. Here we go again, Art. Smokey Robinson.
How y'all feel about that, the Tyler Perry situation? Is anybody following it? I haven't heard anything new from the case. I think it's pretty tricky and crazy, though. Every other day is somebody being sued for something heinous.
The keys you let it sit for 2 days in the refrigerator uncovered. So this is raw chicken's been sitting on the second day, and you can tell it like it's pulled out some of the liquid. So when we cook it in a hot pan, it's inside down, front side down. Open.
It'll be a girl's toy. Tyler Perry, allegedly, if you want, Derek Dixon to be your boy toy. $10,000 an episode for a billionaire is not going to cut it. I believe, Mark, that Derek Dixon claims he never had intercourse with Tyler. That's going to be a big thing, Mark. Because when I was reading the civil complaint, it doesn't appear that Derek Dixon ever admitted to having any type of relation with Tyler Perry. 4.5 years, so I wonder if that's true. Because if Tyler Perry can prove, allegedly, that him and Derek Dixon engaged in any type of consensual sexual exchange, I think the case can be thrown out. I think the argument can be made that you was engaged in consensual relations with Mr. Perry. And because you didn't get what you wanted to out of this Gabrielle D'Amico, and Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 3, and Jane Doe 4, with Smokey Robinson, you decided to try to exploit him and exploit him for money because you know he's fucking. So if Tyler can prove that any of this was consensual, I think this case can be thrown out. Why? Because you was around this man for 4.5 years, Art. Almost 5 years, and you never did anything about his sexual advance. Pulling your pants down, grabbing your booty, asking you if you like to be a top or a bottom,
asking you about your relations with other men, saying he's jealous, seeing you around other men. There was too much harassment, allegedly, for you to have not done nothing in the other 5. So Tyler Perry concludes that they have relations are, I think that it's thrown out. Now, the Tyler Perry case. Here's where I stand on this. First of all, $260 million is ridiculous. That's number one. But number two I believe that Derek Dixon would have become Tyler Perry's lover if Tyler Perry gave him what he wanted. If Tyler Perry would have gave him his own show, I think he becomes his lover. Because according to Derek Dixon, Tyler Perry allegedly told him that he wants a male lover who will keep quiet and not become emotionally attached. He claims Tyler Perry told him, I don't have enough time to get emotionally involved in a relationship. So I'm looking for somebody I can smash and dash, who keep their mouth shut, and don't get all emotional with me because I ain't got time for that. So basically, he kind of wanted a boy toy. Derek Dixon doesn't seem like he really made it clear to him that he was not going to be that. Here's where I think Tyler Perry messed up, like I said. He didn't take care of his part, but in addition to that, Derek Dixon was not going to be no cheapo. He was not going to be no cheapo. That's like Art dating a woman, and a woman says, you ain't getting these panties until you buy me a car. And you keep trying to get the panties, she said, I'm not giving you no panties until you buy me a car. You buy her the car, you get the panties. If you don't buy the car, you don't get the panties. I simply think Derek Dixon is not a cheapo artist. Tyler Perry didn't keep his end of the bargain, so he never let him smash. He never let him smash, period. Tyler Perry thought he was going game before he fulfilled his part of the bargain.
How y'all feel about this?
Derek Dixon wasn't a cheapo. He said, you ain't gonna play me cheap.
He feel like Derek Dixon was.
If you don't, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna keep all the text messages. I'm gonna keep all the exchange. Just like the Mexicans were smoking. Just like Gabrielle with Shannon. I'm gonna keep all the information on it. And if I don't get my own show, guess what I'm gonna do? What? Run to the lawyer. Wealthy black men are the learn. You cannot deal with non-African women the way you deal with African women. Our sisters are burdened by racism. They are burdened by negative stereotypes from slavery that have never been true of them. Our sisters have never been Jezebel. It was the slave master who sought after our women and raped our women. They didn't pursue them. But that's the stereotype that America has carried for 400 years. And every black woman goes into court seeking justice against the perpetrator has to deal with the fact that people see her as sexually promiscuous. Mexican women ain't got to worry about that. Caucasian women ain't got to worry about that. Chinese women ain't got to worry about that. Arabs ain't got to worry about that. These Indians ain't got to worry about that. So these wealthy black men need to understand you can't deal with non-African lovers the way you do. And I'm queen shouldn't be treated at all. I'm just going to comparison. Tyler Perry, Smokey Robinson, Shannon Sharp, Yes, yes. This whole thing is I'll be your boy toy. But I'm going to get something out of this because you're a billionaire. You ain't going to play with you. And then Derek Dixon, his attorney, claims that this is what Tyler Perry does to get his money. He claims that there's other men that work for Tyler Perry Studios who have been fired because they did not consent fully to Tyler Perry's sexual requests and or constant overbearing harassment. So they say, he said, Tyler Perry will put you in shows, write you in, lavish you with all kinds of stuff, make you real comfortable with a very firm understanding that you can pull it off. Then you will do what I want you to do. So the lawyer claims there's other men who have a similar story to Derek Dixon. He even mentioned Cosby, Carter, Weinstein, Spacey, and Paul. So the lawyer is trying to draw a parallel from Tyler Perry to Bill Cosby, Sean Combs, R. Kelly, Weinstein, and Smith. He mentions them a lot. And he says Tyler Perry uses his status and his power to force young, struggling actors into unwanted sexual relationships. I believe he led Tyler Perry on what he did his show. I believe Tyler Perry was never interested in getting him a show. I think he found out Tyler Perry was playing games, and because he's white and still a racist, and Tyler Perry is still black, although a billionaire, and he decided to show Tyler Perry. This is why I say on it don't matter how much money you have, it don't matter how much power you have. Whenever you're dealing with a white woman or a white man, they still have more power. Tyler Perry's a billionaire. Derek Dixon might have been struggling, but guess what, Art? Derek Dixon has the full power of the American criminal justice system behind him. He got the full power of American civil court behind him. He got the full power of American media behind him. He got the full power of American society behind him. Tyler Perry's billions will be neutralized by Derek Dixon's white person. They were playing each other. They were playing each other. He was stringing Tyler Perry along long enough to get his show. Tyler Perry was stringing him along long enough to get some food, allegedly. And it just so happens that Tyler Perry realized he ain't gonna get no movie, right? And then Derek Dixon realized I'm not gonna get no show. So Tyler Perry expected him to walk away, or he thinking he just gonna walk away. Why would he just walk away when you a billionaire? He's gonna embarrass you and he's gonna exploit you, because at the end of the day, you ain't nothing but a gift to him, and you're supposed to know your place even as a billionaire. When a white person throws a temper tantrum at a black person, you better get ready. That's why it does not benefit us being outside of our race art, because you take too many hits. Look at Smokey.
Are you ready?
Of course.
Go ahead.
Cool, don't forget that right on the last one.
Everyone goes to forget the freedom about you.
A race art, because you take too many hits. Look at Smokey. Look at Smokey. Look at Shannon. And now, Tyler Perry, a rainbow bunny, coming for a second. 260. I don't think it's going to get, for me, if they're being honest, you volunteered for this one. 5 years, you didn't do nothing, no law, put the point on that. I'm sorry, he did finally file a complaint against Tyler Perry to see equal employment opportunities, which he did on it. But I don't think that was until 2024 when he decided to take leave. Tyler Perry said medical leave without pay. It was at the end of the journey. It was still late. I mean, this man texted you and said, you can't remember the last time he had good sex, and you want to go over his house alone and stay the night. He was teasing him on both of them were using each other. This was a co-exploitation. Tyler Perry allegedly wanted booty. Derek Dixon allegedly wanted his own show. The only problem part is what? The only person who had something to do with Tyler Perry. The only Smokey Robinson. The only person who had something to lose was Smokey Robinson. Shannon Sharp. The only person who had something to lose was Shannon Sharp. Gabrielle Zuniga was the only fan sponsor. Stop dating women outside your race. And if you want to date women outside your race, make sure they have a touch of loose and Tyler Perry should have found him if he's into that. I'm not going to say the man is homosexual. If he is bisexual, he should have found somebody who has as much to lose as he does in the entertainment world, and he would have avoided all this. They date down, Art. They are dating down, thinking they're going to drop these people when they tired of messing with them. It ain't going to happen. It's worth too much. Because at the end of the day, every black person in this country, Art, is nothing more than an opportunity and a tool. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. I don't care how much money you have. Black people were born here as objects to be exploited, and we are still objects to be exploited. And the minute you forget that you're nothing but an object or an opportunity to Gabrielle Zuniga or Mexican immigrants, okay, or to Tyler Perry, in the case of Barry Dixon, they're going to remind you who you are, and they're going to remind you who you were.
Since you see the career section, is that the person?
No, I believe they real. I believe they real because in the lawsuit, they have some of the text messages listed. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. Smokey Robinson is countersued. Fat Joe is countersued. Who else did we talk about it? Fat Joe is countersued. Smokey Robinson is countersued. It does. No. It don't look like Tyler Perry is countersued. He might be, but I didn't see anything. They both consent. You know, I don't agree with same-sex relationships, and Tyler Perry into that we all know the child has been through. You can read that type of about. But to me, this was a consensual relationship that was mutually beneficial and mutually exploitative. That's how if I'm on the jury, Tyler Perry's relationship with Derek Dixon was mutually exploitative, mutually beneficial. Either one of them are in the right, either one of them are in the wrong if everything stated issue. That's how I'm looking at that. You still got put on, you still got paid, you still got famous. You were taken care of, not to the point you wanted to be, but you were still taken care of. I think it was mutually beneficial and mutually exploitative. See, now, he never accused Tyler Perry of flat out sexually assaulting him with the arm. You feel me? To me, it just was like a lot of butt cheek grabbing is what I saw. A lot of thigh rubbing. You feel me? Like nowhere did I really help me down and forcibly penetrated you. I don't see that nowhere. I'm seeing a bunch of butt smacking, butt grabbing. You pull his underwear down, you still stay on the job. Come on. This is consensual. This is consensual. Same thing with Smokey Robinson in the Fort Mexican. Come on now. You keep coming back and forth to work for 18 years, 12 years, 6 years, 1 year, letting this man do all this to you, you doing all this to him. Here's my thing, are Smokey Robinson giving you oral sex, right? Did you refuse it? Because how does an 85-year-old man hold you down for oral sex? How does an 85-year-old man hold you down for oral sex? You enjoyed it as much as he did, but you didn't get out of it what you wanted to. The mistake of Smokey, the mistake of Tyler, the mistake of Shannon, the mistake of all of them is you're dating down and outside your race. You cannot afford to do that. You got too much to do. I don't think any of these men sexually assaulted anybody. I don't think Smokey guilty. I don't think Shannon Sharp is guilty. I don't think Tyler Perry is guilty. But I would convict them on one count of being dumbass black men in racist white America. I would convict them of that. And I would sentence them to 500 lashes a piece, except Uncle Smokey, or we would take lashes. But I would convict them for being silly, multi-millionaires, and in Tyler Perry's case, multi-billionaires. You a fool. You can't carry yourself like you working at McDonald's. They out here crashing out, Mark. Crashing out for non-black vagina and non-black rectum. This is insane. This is insane. Black men have to get our lower chakras. I see you laughing, Mark. Black men got to get our lower chakras under control, Mark. We got to get our chakras under control. This is madness. Yeah, he said Tyler Perry rubbed his thigh. Remember, when I was saying he went over his house, they had some drinks. They got late. Tyler Perry felt a little too tipsy to drive home. Tyler Perry invited him to stay. He stayed. He slides into the bed with Derek Dixon, allegedly. Starts rubbing his leg. Gary Dixon told him, I'm not sexual. That's what he kept saying throughout the lawsuit. I'm not sexual. So I don't know if he's trying to claim he's a virgin or if he's trying to claim that he just wasn't ready to have relations with Tyler Perry. He never said he wasn't homosexual, so I believe he's definitely that. But he just wasn't ready. Bottom line, he had too much art. He knew what he wanted. Period. Derek Dixon said, you a billionaire, you the man, and you ain't clapping these cheeks until I get my own show. Period. And Tyler Perry put him on clap, allegedly it's true, he put him on clap, and Derek wouldn't get up, he wanted his own show. Neither one of them, they used each other, they played each other. They played each other. It's bad, man, because I don't want to see Tyler Perry disgraced. Tyler Perry is one of the few black men in this century art who could go on my Mount Rushmore for black achievement if he starts producing some very serious, empowering African literature. Like he did the movie about the sisters in World War II. You know, that was an integrationist kind of thing. It was nice. It was good. Shout out to Tyler Perry for that. Jerry Washington, great job, and the other sisters on there. I like it. But we need a Black Wall Street movie. You know, we need a Boston Coffee. We need Haitian Revolution. We need Ida B. Wells. Like, if Tyler Perry art can give me 12 strong black movies, not no integrationist system about how we segregated the army. I'm tired of the integrationist system. Give me some strong black power. Give me 12 powerful black dramas. Powerful. You can end up on my Mount Rushmore right next to mine. Right now, that's right. But up there, the brother in charge of the innocent project, up for the Africans, get off of death row, so this is the charge, and sentence to life. Tyler Perry can get up there because media is powerful, and controlling the way black people think and feel is powerful. Tyler Perry had that ability in his hands. I just don't want him to throw it away because he's going to get into lawsuits. I'm going to have to cancel him from my list. Not cancel him generally, but cancel him from a Mount Rushmore. And Tyler Perry can hit that Mount Rushmore if you do the right thing. I hate to see this for him. I hate to see this for Smokey. I hate to see this for Snow Bunny Shannon Sharp.
That was a great perspective.
Right, acai. A superfood from the Brazilian Amazon that helps neutralize skin damage. Acai. Hard to pronounce, easy to love.
Açaí.
Natura.
The average excavator can exert over 15,000 pounds of force, powerful enough to break major underground utility lines. That can cost tens of thousands of dollars to repair. Stay safe, avoid fines or outages. Always call 811 before you dig. All right, here we go. Roger Bonds, welcome back to Blind TV. Salute, Jones. Salute. And the last thing was massive.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, yeah. People still hit you about that like pretty much every day. Huh?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. They say, yo, did you get your money for that interview? I said, yeah, we good.
We good. That's right. That's right. Well, the trial has started. The last time you've been arrested, he was facing trial, but now the trial has started. Now, if you've been called to testify,
No, I haven't.
okay. But did the defense reach out to your lawyer at one point?
I'm not even sure. The lawyer said that they would get back in touch with me, and if anything was anything, and they never got back in touch with me about it.
Okay, but they did touch base with your lawyer at one point.
I know either they touch bases or my lawyer touch bases. I know they did touch bases.
Got it. If they called you and asked you to testify, what would you do?
I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm always going to stand up for what's right. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if they call me to testify, I'm not going to not testify. If you call me, I'm going to testify. And whether I plead the fifth or whatever, I'm going to go and I'm going to testify.
Got it.
I don't need no motherfucking blessing.
Who are testifying are given immunity.
But I don't need no motherfucking blessing. I'm blessed.
Crimes and so forth.
Right.
In one way or another. So, you know, a bunch of the witnesses have immunity. So, if they gave you immunity,
You got him. Basically saying, I'm gonna tell you the
Bless
truth,
me.
man. A lot of these things that they
Bless
talk
you.
about,
Bless me.
a lot of
Bitch,
stuff
I
that they
am
talk
blessed
about, like
already.
they talk
I'm
about you're
God.
not running with the sugar night.
I'm not the
They
God.
talk about
I'm
some
a
of the
God.
stuff. I just by the grace of God was either off that day or either was in New York that day, and I would hear about those things when I got back. So I think it was like, God gave me a blessing not to be there or be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't have no problem testifying about what I played a part in because I feel like I was an employee, period. You know what I'm saying? Point blank. That wasn't my man. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, he ran a company, a Fortune 500 company. It wasn't like,
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if your name is Sean Diddy Jones Combs, baby, I know like I can tell you that you're excited for a moment, but baby, you going to jail. Y'all, what happened for today? First of all, this is the finished makeup from ABC. If you guys didn't see, I went live on ABC News Live for Burden of Proof, and then later on, Nightline. That'll be out today.
Why she hate Diddy so
With
much?
the makeup, but look, she did a really good job with the eye. I'm not even
Why she hate Diddy so
joking.
much?
She did a really
Why does
good
Tisa Tales
job
dislike Diddy
with
so
the
much?
eye.
Does she
And
know
she
him or
worked her
something?
flesh, but it was cool. But I don't know. You know how it is. When you're on camera, it actually comes out really good. Okay, so what is actually going on? Let's talk about it. Diddy, baby, that boy is going to jail. And I know Diddy's family got a little moment of light that is not adding up. You guys, Diddy's team got humiliated in court. I have my notes. Let's get to this. Diddy got humiliated in court. Mark Agnifilo, I feel like he was ignorant. He flew too close to the sun. Don't get me wrong. I give Mark Agnifilo a lot of grief. Yeah, we got 30 million reasons. He always sounds like some mob boss's lawyer. And oddly enough, he's Diddy's lawyer, okay? He always sounds like some mob. Can y'all hear me? He always sounds
Yes,
like
we can hear you, Tisa.
a mob boss's
Tisa
lawyer,
Tales.
right? But listen, yes, I think the makeup artist did an amazing job. An amazing job, Teamwork.
I feel like she's one-sided. She must know Diddy or something. Do y'all know Tisa Tales? Do she know Diddy or something?
A great job overall. Overall. Okay, I'm really thankful that she even took the time to do my makeup. All jokes aside, right? So anyway, when it comes to the Diddy's, okay, Mark Agnifilo got in there and he had the jury. I'm not gonna lie, I was worried. He was joking with the jury. He was laughing with the jury. He was doing all this stuff with the jury. And then, something happened, and I don't know what. But I do know that, take this off, it is mess. Something happened, and I don't know, look at this motorcycle outfit. Something happened, and I don't know what exactly it was, but something changed in Diddy's team. Diddy called everybody over, had a huddle, said all this stuff, and after that, Mark Agnifilo literally started doing the Cassie the hoe. It seemed like he wanted Cassie to catch strays more than actually win his case. And the weird thing is, this is how you got messed up in the last time, right? This is how, no, hear me out. The defense was not a word salad. Mark Agnifilo was doing his thing, but then it got really weird. It got really creepy. It got a little misogynistically. He started making some like, oh, she's a woman. She liked that. She was wild. She enjoyed that Cassie. She enjoyed herself. Is this your whole defense? Cassie's a ho ho ho. It really had me looking at Diddy's team sideways. It had me looking at Diddy's team. And who said everybody was cheering on? I wasn't involved in it.
I like her, but I'm sorry, I just can't. I do like her though. Let's see what Donald Trump is talking about.
We're America's beverage companies, making American products with American workers in America's hotels.
What's the best news station in the States? What's the best news station in the USA?
The promise of America and the people who make it great.
I'm Pat, and I had surgery for a pair of fully ruptured Achilles tendon.
After spending time on crutches, I knew there had to be something better, so I got the eyeball crutch. This is me using it for the first time. At first, I worked slowly, carefully. There's definitely a learning curve.
For the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law, in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch, the Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect or at least delay it for many years, tied up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades, and we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves. It was so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people. We have so many of them. I have a whole list. I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she can talk as long as she wants, because it's a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud. Our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible Attorney General. We're very proud of her. And as you know, Todd Blanche is with us, and we have so many others that worked on this case and other cases. And I think they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a few words.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, They turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal justices, judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that. 94 districts and 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies from tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. No longer. And on immigration, on a side note, today marks 2,711 arrests on these terrorists and these gangs. Total arrests today with HF investigations. And thank you, Stephen Miller. Thank you to Homeland Security. Thank you to everyone working hand in hand with the FBI on all of these transnational gangs. TDA has been a huge terror to our country, as well as MS-13, as well as Sinaloa cartels. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have allowed district court judges to be emperors. They vetoed all of President Trump's power, and they cannot do that. This has been a bipartisan problem that has lasted 5 presidential terms. 5 different presidents. And it has ended today. We will continue to fight for President Trump's policies. I want to thank the Office of White House Counsel, Dave Warrington. You and your staff have been incredible. Our Solicitor General's office, John Sowers, Sarah Harris, and Todd Blanche and Emil Bovey. Todd's going to say a few words because we've had another major ruling today on transgender books and some other great wins that we've had. But no longer will they have this power in our country. It is the president's authority under his executive branch to do everything to fight for the American people, and he will continue to do that. That's why he was overwhelmingly elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Today's a great day for the rule of law. It's a great day for the Justice Department, and it's one that's been a long time coming, and one that every American should have been waiting for with bated breath. And so I echo what the President said, and Attorney General Bondi, that the Supreme Court did a great thing today, not only for this administration, but for every American in this country. If not for the injunctions case, we would be here talking about another great decision that came down today, the trans books case, which restores parents' rights to decide their child's education. Seems like a basic idea, but it took the Supreme Court to set the record straight. We thank them for that. And now that ruling allows parents to opt out of dangerous trans ideology and make the decisions for their children that they believe is correct. And so we thank the Supreme Court for that. There's been multiple decisions over the past several weeks that just show why this nationwide injunction ban had to happen. For example, what I mean by that is local district court judges issuing decisions that are clearly contrary to law just because they don't like the policy of President Trump. And when it gets to the Supreme Court has to correct it. But that takes time. The Attorney General thanked our lawyers, and I'll do it again. Our lawyers are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to fight these injunctions and to emergency appeals, emergency stays, going back to the district court judge, asking them to change their view. And so their hard work is really paying off today, but over the past few weeks. We had a stay of an order that prevented DHS from moving aliens to a third country. We had a stay of an order that stopped the Department of Defense from implementing military readiness, the EO that President Trump signed. We had another stay of an order.
What's up, Bill?
A statement of fired executive branch employees entirely within the President in Article 2, his right to do. We had a stay of, as you all know, of numerous DOJ cases. And again, every one of those stays requires a tremendous amount of work and effort by the lawyers and parties involved. And they should be doing other work. They should be doing the work that the President, that this administration demands and has a right to demand, and not fighting these local judges who don't make decisions based on the law.
they make decisions because they just simply don't agree with the administration's decision about policy, and that's wrong. Thank you.
Get back in the cage. Get back in the. Don't come over here by me. Get back in the cage.
Thank you, Madam Attorney General. So, as you know, the Supreme Court did not rule on the underlying constitutionality of the president's birthright citizenship order. So, what is the plan now? Are you going to try to implement the veto just in states where there isn't a legal challenge?
Yes, his birthright citizenship will be decided in October in the next session by the Supreme Court, unless it comes down in the next few minutes. I guess it could come down. I think they're still deliberating right now on some cases. As you heard, we just got transgender books, which is a huge win. But most likely, that will be decided in October in the next session. However, it indirectly impacts us because, as you correctly pointed out, if there's a birthright citizenship case in Oregon, it will only affect the plaintiff in Oregon, not the entire country. So yes, it's indirectly, but that's pending litigation, and we're waiting on that in the next term.
But how certain are you that the Supreme Court will come back and determine that the executive order is unconstitutional?
We're very confident in the Supreme Court, but again, it's pending litigation, and that will directly be determined in October, but it indirectly impacts every case in this country, and we're thrilled with their decision today. Peter.
Madam Attorney General, thank you for being here to take our questions. A couple questions to the both of you. The EO goes, has a 30-day grace period before it goes into effect. Is there any thought about trying to make it effective immediately within that period of time?
We're going to follow the law. We're going to make those decisions, and we're going to do what's right in the bounds of the law.
And then the DOJ didn't ask the justices to rule on the merits of the birthright citizenship ban. Just for explanation purposes, why?
Sure, because that's going to come down in October in the separate. This was huge because it's indirectly impacted today. As I said, it's case by case. Let me reiterate, of the 35.
How do I describe a Salt Lake vacation?
That's gonna make women start having babies on the street. What's up, y'all?
Visit Salt Lake.
That's what you want. Stop playing with me.
This is a monumental decision that radically strips lower courts of their ability to rein in the executive branch. The Supreme Court held that essentially under no circumstances can judges issue nationwide or universal injunctions that prohibit the president from implementing a policy anywhere against anyone. And instead, courts can only issue relief to the particular parties that are joining the suit. What that means here is that in the 28 states that did not sue, that aren't party to the suit, the Trump administration can start to enforce its ban on birthright citizenship for the children of many immigrants. And this also has implications in the 24 other cases where lower courts have issued nationwide injunctions to block illegal Trump policies. The impoundment of domestic funds, the cancellation of foreign aid, the destruction of federal agencies, the illegal termination of civil servants, all of those actions were blocked by nationwide injunctions, and today the Supreme Court essentially just dissolved all of those. So the Trump administration now has vastly more discretion and authority to begin to implement policies that may well be illegal under any reasonable conception of the law.
Following more breaking news tonight, the Trump administration set to terminate the temporary protected status program for Haitian migrants. The Department of Homeland Security contends that conditions in Haiti have improved enough for them to return home.
The move would impact hundreds of thousands of people. CBS News Miami's Nakaya Guerrero joins us tonight from Little Haiti.
Putting a dagger through the heart, not only of individual members, but of families.
The Department of Homeland Security says that TPS for Haitians will expire August 3rd and go into effect on September 2nd. A decision that comes as a shock to local Haitians.
But making the outrageous claim that conditions in Haiti are getting better. And this flies in the face of their own claim of why they put Haiti on the dollar because of the dangerous conditions.
A DHS spokesperson said the environmental situation in Haiti has improved enough that it is safe for Haitian citizens to return home. The CBS News Miami spoke with someone in Haiti who says the country cannot accept anyone else. People from Port-au-Prince are going CAP now. If everyone is deported to Haiti, CAP will be like Port-au-Prince because of the difficult condition the country is in. For all the people to come to Haiti, things will get worse.
We talked at DC with TPS holders, where they've spoken to elected officials on many, many occasions. And now we're looking at a situation where those very leaders are fearful.
The perfect bite needs to have three things: umami, acidity, and a texture or feel in your mouth. Once you have that right combination, it becomes like a perfect bite. This bowl is a fun concept, a steak bowl that represents the chicken ranch so well.
Why are you doing this? Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this?
There will be no opportunity to speak on the side of it again. I'm only saying this over and over because I want to give you all the opportunity to speak on the side of
The question you need to answer is that, do I want to speak today? Or do I want to reserve my rights in the future to intervene in the event that it comes back? I hope that this is clear. It is your choice. You know that we, my colleagues and I, we always want you to give your voices. We want you to be here. We want you to give your voices. You will work with the administration and make sure that those questions are answered.
Thank you. That said, I'm going to continue public hearing, and those that wish to speak may speak. I think Commissioner Bastien explained it perhaps better than I did. We will have order in this chamber. We will have order in this chamber.
I can stand and I can be quiet. No
then and they can all speak at that point, by the way, today. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak, not just one person. But if this item ever comes back, they will not have that opportunity granted again, a second time. You speak once on every item. This has been the practice of the board. We all know this. This is not new to any commissioner on this board. That public hearing is had one time in the history of the item. The mayor has already agreed to this. She signed this in March. The only reason this was brought forward is because we're not getting paid for it. That's the only reason. I'm looking at this in a fiscal perspective. We have a $400 million deficit. The administration can explain whether we're getting reimbursed or not. All this does is make them reimburse us. That's it. I have been told the administration's been doing this since 2019. That's not us. That's what the mayor and the administration has been doing. I just want to make sure that if this is true, we are being compensated by the federal government and we don't continue to go into a deficit. That's it.
This is not something about which I have a choice. This is the law of Florida, and it was required that this agreement be signed. It came to the board as a routine matter for ratification.
Governor DeSantis is using cruelty as a political theater, and by supporting the 287G agreement, you are helping him to do it. Now he wants to build a detention camp as a political theater in the Everglades, surrounded by alligators and the Florida extreme heat and land that belongs to this county.
Question why you, Commissioner Gonzalez, are the sponsor of this bill. As a non-birthright citizen, you came to the U.S. at the age of 2 in the 90s and didn't become a citizen until 2014. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your legal proceedings took 10 years. I imagine you wouldn't be in the U.S. or in your county commissioner seat if mass violent aggressors took you illegally away inside immigration court while your lawyer was in the bathroom or while the judge is printing a document that protects you from inhumane detention. So I don't understand the hypocrisy or intentional threat.
Is at the forefront of making sure that we're rounding up all these individuals or attempting to locate the ones that did get in. You have one that with immediate ties to Hezbollah. We also arrested a former sniper from a hostile country who snuck into the United States. So those are the type of individuals we want to locate. So you hear it there, that's Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons talking about the work his agency is doing, trying to find and apprehend Iranian nationals in the U.S., given concerns of potential sleeper cells here, and ICE has been busy. Federal sources telling Fox in the last week alone, ICE has arrested 130 Iranian nationals all across the United States, and ICE currently has 670 Iranian nationals in ICE detention. Now, we talk about some of those people who are detained right now. You just heard Todd Lyons explain some of it. This guy, a former Iranian army sniper who had his military ID card on him at the time of his arrest. This guy, a former IRGC member with suspected ties to Hezbollah. This man had a gun in his waistband, and ICE says another one of them was a known or suspected terrorist. So they are going out and they're going into overdrive, trying to track down these potential threats. For more on this, I want to bring in former Acting ICE Director Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, ICE is really cranking it up when it comes to finding these Iranians. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and Director Lyons and Tom Homan are doing a fantastic job focusing in and getting these people locked up and eventually removed because they see them as a danger, and it does show a drastic change, and unfortunately,
Really
begin with the arrest of a man accused of impersonating a federal agent, raising new fears tonight and concerns over public safety.
Officials have been sounding the alarm as armed, masked federal agents detain suspected undocumented immigrants across Southern California in unmarked vehicles. KTLA's Carlos Acedo live in Huntington Park, where the arrest was made, and why officials believe others could be out there. Carlos.
Good evening. The immigrant community is already on edge because of these ICE raids. Now they have to deal with possible fake ICE agents following an arrest here in Huntington Park. Tonight there's growing fears that there could be copycats. With ongoing ICE raids, many people are living in fear that they or one of their loved ones could be snatched up. I'll likely be targeted and arrested, says Huntington Park resident Alfredo Reyes. He tells me in Spanish that he now carries multiple forms of ID on him, including his green card, even for a quick walk around the neighborhood, thinking federal authorities might confuse him as being undocumented. His fears have escalated, especially after what unfolded Tuesday. City leaders announcing the arrest of Fernando Diaz, accused of impersonating an ICE officer.
Prompted serious concern about public safety, the impersonation of federal agents.
They say the suspects dodged Durango and law enforcement tied flights, and inside copies of passports, federal enforcement-style documents, cell phones, and a loaded firearm.
Within the individuals doing those items remains under investigation. The defense of law enforcement-style statement without any verified authority raises serious concern.
Police were first drawn to the vehicle, parked in a handicapped spot with no visible placard.
When further questioned, the individual claimed he previously invoked the Customs and Border Protection. However, he could produce no valid credentials to validate them.
Instead, he was wanted for drunk driving and had previously been arrested for human smuggling. This follows weeks of unrest amid highly controversial ICE raids across the state and country. Many question the tactics by agents who often cover their faces and don't properly identify themselves to the community.
For people. And frankly, the fact that they're wearing look a lot like they were ordered on Amazon. Are they bounty hunters? Are they vigilantes?
Now, the city recently passed a resolution requiring federal authorities to identify themselves when asked by police. So if you're in a similar situation and you're unsure, you're encouraged to call 911. Reporting live tonight in Huntington Park, Carlos Salcedo, KTLA 5 News.
Carlos, thank you.
David Moore, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row. ABC 4 News at 11.
Now at 11, a loaded gun, dozens of rounds of ammo, police radios, and copies of passports. All of that found inside a man's vehicle in Huntington Park, and it is raising concerns he's possibly posing as a federal agent. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kathy Flora. We've been following this since a press conference this afternoon by police and the mayor of Huntington Park, and tonight that man's out of jail, out of court, and telling his side to NBC4's Robert Kavasik. He is up in our newsroom. He spoke with him tonight. Robert?
Kathy, 23-year-old Fernando Diaz says he only learned that he was suspected of possibly posing as a Border Patrol agent. He says after a news conference held this afternoon by Huntington Park officials that included the city's chief of police and mayor. In that news conference, it was also revealed that Diaz had a prior arrest record related to human smuggling.
I realized until today when I seen the mayor that he did a press conference and stuff like that, releasing all these statements, putting my picture out there to the public and stuff like that, which is, it's fine with me. They're affirming they're gonna see if I kidnap people and stuff like that. They're never gonna see me anywhere. Why? Because I've never done that stuff.
Now, it was during the news conference when Police Chief Lozano presented evidence found inside of Diaz's car. That included red and blue lights, multiple radios, a loaded semi-automatic handgun with extra ammunition, cell phones, passports, and a document listing CPB radio codes along with paperwork bearing Homeland Security and CBP headers. The chief says it was Diaz who claimed to be a former CPB agent, which the police could not verify. Diaz arrested Tuesday for possessing an unlicensed firearm, and then on Wednesday, the city of Huntington Park passed a resolution directing the police department to verify the identity of any federal agents operating within that city. The mayor demanding transparency.
If you are acting with federal authority, then show it. Identify yourselves. Do not hide behind an unmarked vehicle, face mask.
No. Now tonight, Diaz tells NBC4 he was in possession of everything they found in his car, including not only firearm. But when we asked him why he had those things inside of his car, he wouldn't tell us. And he says he has only been charged for possession of that handgun and a bench warrant for a DUI. But he denies he ever claimed to be a federal agent.
You can look at the body cameras. At no point I told him I was a federal agent or I was a border patrol, officer or agent or stuff like that.
Diaz says, and I'm quoting here, he believes he was being used by police as a, quote, scapegoat. He's currently back home tonight with his family as this investigation continues. In our newsroom, I'm Robert Kovacic. Kathy?
Goldilocks needs a place of her own, and fast. Thankfully, she's on Redfin. They got 8 listings every 2 minutes. And with so many options, she's bound to find exactly what she wants.
This one's just right.
What is that?
Tonight, breaking.
An update on breaking news in the Florence Firestone area. Investigators say a security guard is dead and another person is critically hurt after a double shooting outside a cannabis dispensary. KW reporter Lucelia Caballero is live at Compton Avenue and East 91st Street, where that shooting happened. Lucelia, we understand you spoke with a victim's family member.
We did. It has been a long morning here. I mean, we are talking about a family who received news from a deputy who answered her husband's phone. She was calling him to check up on him. He's a security guard here at the dispensary behind me. Investigators say he was actually sitting in that black SUV, that Expedition that you see there. While he was working, he was sitting in there with another person, but 2 suspects approached their vehicle for an attempted robbery and potentially attempted carjacking. They say at that point a scuffle unfolded back and forth, and then shots were eventually fired here on 91st Street and Compton Avenue. And they believed that attempted carjacking took place, and once that struggle followed, the husband of the woman we spoke to earlier was shot and killed on scene. The second victim was shot multiple times in his upper torso, ran down the street. Investigators say at that point, Good Samaritans showed up on scene, and the 2 suspects that initially approached the victims ended up taking off with the Good Samaritans' car. Investigators describe it as a silver Acura. We talked to the wife of the victim who was shot to death, identifying him as a 37-year-old Alex Gonzalez, a loving father and dedicated husband.
Well, we pretty much lost a part of us, that took care of us and came to work and had to take care of us, me and, his daughter. So now my daughter is, our daughter's without him, and, life's going to be different.
She tells us Gonzalez had recently clocked in before all of this unfolded, saying he had been
working outside of this dispensary as a security guard for a handful of months prior to this incident, but had been working security for about 4 years. At this time, investigators are looking into any and all security camera footage and talking to people to try to find these suspects that are still outstanding. They're asking anyone with information to come forward. Reporting live in South LA, Stelia Caballero, Pick-Up News. Thank you.
Exactly.
And we begin at 6 with the moment federal agents stormed into a home in Huntington Park this morning. They were searching for a 32-year-old father who is a U.S. citizen. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Lewis.
And I'm Carolyn Johnson. Michael is off. When agents entered the home, they found his girlfriend and 2 children inside. NBC4's Alex was here live in Huntington Park for us with why Border Patrol says they were after this man. Alex.
Well, Border Patrol now says that they've arrested Jorge Sierra Hernandez. That's who they were looking for when they came to this home this morning. They busted a window out. The door is no longer in place. Border Patrol said that this is the consequence for someone who obstructed federal agents. Now, the family denies all of this. And when they were here, the agents didn't even find Jorge.
I was asleep with my babies and by
Jenny Ramirez tells us what she says happened when federal agents showed up this morning at her Huntington Park home.
and my neighbor called me on the phone and said, Border Patrol, they're outside your house and they're pointing guns.
Just after 6 a.m., surveillance video showed a line of federal agents moving down the street in front of her home. One man put some type of tool on the front door, then joined other agents behind the family's SUV. Seconds later, a SWAT vehicle pulled up outside, followed by an unmarked white Suburban. Then you'll hear a few muffled announcements over a loudspeaker. When no one came out, the federal agents blew the door up.
I just hear the blast. All of a sudden, I just hear the blast, and I told him, I'm in here with my baby. What's going on? They shattered the window first, and then the second big bomb came when they broke the door down.
The blast woke up the neighbors, too.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought we were being bombed. That's how loud it was. And I look outside, and there's masked armed agents in every single driveway up and down our street.
After the blast, agents escorted Jenny outside the home as she held her 1-year-old and 6-year-old's hand.
They took me out with my babies. I was barefooted. My baby didn't even have a pants on or shoes.
Jenny said the agents were after her boyfriend, who was at work. Border Patrol said they eventually arrested him after he obstructed federal agents during a law enforcement operation. Jenny denies that claim.
This shouldn't have happened.
It goes back to this accident last week in Bell. Video of the crash was posted on Instagram.
He was not at fault. He was not at fault.
Jenny said her boyfriend was driving the black Jeep when she said they unintentionally hit the back of a federal agent's truck. The agents were conducting an operation nearby. But late this afternoon, a Border Patrol spokesperson said Jenny's boyfriend rammed into the Border Patrol vehicle.
I don't know if this is retaliation. I've been feeling super scared since Friday. We didn't even know what to do.
Now, a week later, the family's involved in another incident with federal agents, this time at their home, when they blew the door up, searching for Jenny's boyfriend.
I asked them, why didn't you just knock on my door? I would have opened it. I told them, you guys didn't have to do this. You guys scared my son, my baby, and myself.
And as we bring it back out live, you're looking at that busted out window on this Huntington Park home. As I mentioned, Jorge was not even home at the time the agent showed up. He was at work. We've since learned he has now been arrested. We are reaching out to multiple federal agencies trying to get additional details on further clarification on what happened here. Right now, we don't know the charges he's facing. Reporting live tonight, I'm Alex Rosier, NBC4 News.
You've been wanting to do something with Korean flavors.
You have the
That's
security
crazy.
of crunchy, refreshing, rich in
charge today.
Three men from across the country are now suspected of hatching a plan to travel to Arizona to torture and execute a 22-year-old woman. Investigators say Mercedes Vega suffered horrific abuse before she was burned alive in a car on the side of a highway. We have updates on how the three suspects are connected and what could be at the center of this alleged sadistic plot. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, right, this is another Law and Crime Eagle alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. That's right, Will.
Hey, sir, how's it going? Hey, so when I started 47, please all my contacts are recorded. We're investigating a crime right now, and you are a possible suspect in that crime. Okay?
Well, that's Stephen Tucker Glenn being questioned over a body that was found in a tent where he's been living. Stephen is homeless, and he's been staying at Seattle's largest homeless camp. Stephen would claim the female victim had suffered an overdose, and he tried to hide the body in fear of being caught. But these detectives know more than they're letting on, and suspect Stephen is guilty of murdering his lover with an axe, and then sleeping next to the body.
That smell is there. Oh, you can smell that smell from 50 feet away. That smell was a suitcase. And there was a person. The person's remains in that suitcase. Her name was Shannon. Did you do anything else with her to share, like, this number or anything? You tried to share, but I didn't do it. You didn't meet her up. Okay, good. Did you guys have sex after anything?
Thank you, Katie. Get him, Katie.
Before leaving him, we would like to extend our deepest condolences to the victim's family and friends. The Jungle has become an infamous landmark right in the heart of Seattle, Washington. The homeless camp stretches for over 150 acres under and along Interstate 5 between South Dearborn and South Lucille Streets on Beacon Hill. The Jungle has a notorious reputation for illegal narcotics, outbursts of violence, and rats that have been known to take a bite out of sleeping residents. The city needed to do something about the problems both the city and the 350 or so residents of the Jungle faced. So teams from the Washington State Department of Transportation were sent in to try to clean up the area. On September 27, 2024, one of the cleanup teams made a gut-wrenching discovery. It was the smell that raised some major red flags on the visit a few days earlier. Social worker
in charge of the cleanup noted that there appeared to be a concerning smell emanating from one of the tents. When they returned, they were accompanied by Sergeant Brandon Valenti of the Washington State Patrol, and he obtained a search warrant in order to take a look inside the tent. They found a suitcase inside, and its contents were wrapped in plastic. When the wrapping was cut open, they found a badly decomposed and dismembered body. Sergeant Valenti secured the area around the tent and suitcase after he realized this was now possibly a crime scene. It only took days to identify the body, 37-year-old Shannon Weir. Shannon had been missing since November of 2023 and was last seen in an area near Dr. Jose Rizal Park in Seattle. Associate Medical Examiner Nicole Yard from the King County Medical Examiner's Office performed an autopsy on the same day Shannon was officially identified and revealed the horrifying way her body had been abandoned. Stuffed in the suitcase, Shannon had been deceased for months, and her death had been traumatic with devastating injuries to her neck and head. Washington State Patrol began a murder investigation right away, and they discovered the tent where Shannon's body was found did not actually belong to her, as inside there was a mail addressed to the tent's real owner, 57-year-old Stephen Tom Glenn. He became a person of interest to investigators, and the search was on to try to locate him. But that would mean they need the assistance of the residents of Seattle's biggest homeless camp, who did not have the best relationship with law enforcement. But there were some members of the community who were able to provide the investigation team with vital information. And they too had noticed the smell coming from Stephen's tent. One of those witnesses, known only as Matt, had also managed to see the inside of Stephen's tent.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came about knowing what you know.
So I was camped basically where those remains were found. I was camped a little bit down further down the path from that. And so towards the end of that path, the remains were found by the barrier by the freeway. There was a tree fort. That was like a spot to drugs. It was a trap.
Go in your cage. I don't feel like it. You need to go outside. When you out there, you need to use the bathroom. Go your ass in that cage.
And so I had to walk down that path there. And we come up the concrete path, and then there's a fence, and then we go down the dirt path. Yes. So going down the dirt path, there may be at least, I'd say up to one, me and other people in the camps that would go down there would notice a stench coming from generally it was towards the middle of that dirt path, which was right in front of a particular structured tank. So yeah, I started noticing the smell coming from there. At first I'm thinking dead rats possibly. And then after a while it's like it's not going away.
Matt had been a longtime resident of the camp and was familiar with many of its residents, including Stephen, or Steve, as he is referred to by Matt.
Talk to me about Steve, Agent Steve. Like, what's he like? What does he do? Does he have friends over?
Agent Steve, I knew him by face. I probably seen him for the first time last summer. He would ride around on an electric scooter. Pretty much, he kept to himself for the most part. He was kind of quiet. He never not real friendly. Even the people he kind of like, knew by face or whatever. Anytime I would say hi to anybody that I was familiar with, going across the bridge, he's coming back across on a scooter. I say hi to him. He never say hi back. He always had a real, I don't know, just the expression on his face was always just irritated or pissed off.
Stephen was known for riding his motorcycle around the camp, although some of the residents were wary of him. Nobody suspected he could be capable of doing anything like what happened to Shannon.
I mean, people word around the street about him was, he was kind of maybe creepy or whatever you want to say. He would wear, a lot of times he would wear, they call them ghillie suits, where you know what I mean? So that it's like when you wear a camouflage, it's like you're trying to camouflage yourself with the elements.
The ghillie suit. Ghillie, yes.
Yeah. He would wear ghillie suits with literal, I don't know if they were real or not, but like plants on his head and stuff like that, and all over his, like jacket or whatever.
While Matt was staying at the camp, he recalled seeing a female hanging around Stephen's tent, and it appeared that she was under the influence of some kind of narcotic. Her behavior was so unusual
sure what it was she may have taken.
A couple of occasions, there was a couple of occasions where a girl from his and kind of come walking up the path with no shoes on. But this was a common thing too. With a few times this happened, they had no shoes on, and they would seem like they don't know what plans are, you know. And then you know, and maybe if I had a bubble on me, I'd smoke with them or something. But and then they would just kind of wander back off along the way. But it seemed. It really seemed like they didn't know what was going on or where they were at.
Okay.
On a couple of occasions.
Did it even seem like they were in fear?
Not really.
They were
just fear.
just really high on something and.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was like that, you know. But it seemed not just high. Because usually when they're really high, they're slumped over. No, you know what I mean? Like, so it seemed like something different than that.
When Matt was shown a picture of Shannon, he immediately
This operation led to nearly 90 arrests. The suspects are charged with everything from drug trafficking to murder. And officials say this is just the next step in them dismantling organized crime in the Central Valley. Law enforcement putting a leash on the Bulldog Street Gang. They operated like a corporation, but their business was crime, chaos, and fear. The FBI launched Operation Shot Caller in early spring. Their goal? To break down 3 of the gang's factions. This gang wasn't just tagging walls. They were trafficking guns, flooding the streets with dangerous drugs, smuggling drugs into jail and sending orders out of jail. Federal, state, and local officials arrested 89 people. 38 of them are charged for trafficking weapons and drugs.
We're not just arresting individuals, we're disrupting entire criminal operations.
They say this was a long, expensive process, and it required all hands on deck.
The real heroes are not the people who are standing up here. The real heroes are the people who are standing in the back of this room.
The operation took upwards of 550 officers, but Fresno County Sheriff John Zanoni says it was worth it. He says the operation allowed them to solve a 2017 murder.
We went back 8 years and solved the case to bring justice to that family.
But the operation's not done yet. 4 suspects are still on the run.
We know who you are, and we know where to find you. And law enforcement will not stop until you're brought in to answer for your charges.
They say they'll continue doing operations like this until every hidden gang member is brought into the light. Now, this operation is actually the launch to the FBI's larger Summer Heat initiative. It's a nationwide operation to dismantle organized crime all over the country. Fresno County leaders say they're honored to be the ones to kick it off. Live at the federal courthouse, I'm Rihanna Baez, KC24, local news that matters.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, thank you for coming. My name is Kim Santos. I'm the chief of the
There's this. It's been 2 weeks since an immigrant rights activist and Marine veteran Steve Filley home was raided. He's accused of conspiracy to commit civil disorder during an immigration protest for handing out face shields to demonstrators. Tonight, Alejandro Ariana is
speaking out for the first time.
Lindsay Pena, live in Hollywood, as calls for charges to be dropped. Lindsay.
Yeah, Fort Micah, Ariana kept his comments brief this evening. Said he doesn't want to do anything to jeopardize his case at this point. He thought he would find out more at a preliminary hearing that was scheduled today, but that has since been postponed. This was Alejandro Oriano, handcuffed and in the back of a law enforcement vehicle on June 12th, after agents came to his home in East LA to take him into custody. U.S. Attorney Bill Staley saying on X that he was arrested for conspiracy to commit civil disorders for, quote, distributing face shields to suspected rioters, end quote, on day 4 of protests in LA. The former Marine was later released, but hasn't spoken publicly until now.
I'm sure that many of you are eager to hear more about my situation. Unfortunately, I'm not able to discuss much about what's currently going on.
Talking to a crowd at Salazar Park in East LA Friday afternoon, Oriano thanked everyone who stood by his side during this time.
I want to give special recognition to Centro CSO, an organization with a long and proud history going all the way back to the 1940s. For taking me to the streets the moment that it was known that I was in federal custody and we mobilized for my prompt release.
Oriano was supposed to have a preliminary hearing Friday, but he says it's been rescheduled for next week. As we wait to find out more about the case against him, local attorney Deshaun Neal weighed in on what the federal government will need to prove if this moves forward.
I think the federal government has barked up a very big tree because the concern about, one, is the mask really preventing them from doing so? Is it the fact that I put a face cover on preventing me from being able to fulfill a lawful duty of protecting the streets?
He says the charge against Oriano is a broad one, and it'll be interesting to see if there's more to the case than we know.
I think the indictment is actually going to be important, and that's something that's going to be telling about whether this is a very something that's not solely politically motivated, or is it something that's well-based in fact?
And we did reach out to the U.S. Attorney's Office for comments about this case, and we're still waiting to hear back. In Hollywood, Lindsay Pena, KTLA 5 News. Fort Micah, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
He's got a new mattress report though for the 4th of July sale. Honestly, it was the best sale during the 4th of July.
She farted. She gonna shit tonight.
President Trump drawing battle lines
She gonna shit tonight.
Canada. The president abruptly ending all U.S. trade talks with Canada, furious over a new tax.
Tyler, you could have killed me and I picked you out. I only remember Lucky shit. I think Jay did shit though. Just a little bit though.
Governor Newsom is suing Fox News. He's accusing the network of defamation for how it covered a phone call between him and President Trump. And as reporter Josh Haskell explains, the amount the governor is suing for has a bigger meaning.
Mr. President, when is the last time you spoke with governors?
The day that was June 10th, when President Trump was asked about the ongoing immigration raids in Los Angeles. Governor Newsom responding on X, there was no call, not even a voicemail. Americans should be alarmed that a president deploying Marines onto our streets doesn't even know who he's talking to. The night of June 10th on Fox News, anchor Jesse Waters played an edited clip of Trump and accused Governor Newsom of lying. The banner on Fox News read, "Gavin lied about Trump's call." Newsom is now suing Fox News for $787 million.
Governor Newsom is bringing this suit in part to make a legal claim, and I think in part to make a political claim. And
You often see that when it comes to defamation suits. I think Newsom, like any other public official, is facing a bit of an uphill battle here. He has to show that there was a false statement of fact and that it was made with actual malice.
Hey, Zilla, I made my fridge extra fresh.
Bar-ass fresh packs already keep lunch keep fresh. One for now, one for later. No upgrades needed. Bar-ass, it's just right.
Fridge looks kind of silly now. He was warned.
Everybody's telling me right now, there's people out there planning to come get me, bro. People coming here to tell my family that there's people that want to kidnap me or they're trying to kidnap me.
He was afraid.
Even last night, I'm scared a little bit. I'm scared.
This 26-year-old travel vlogger, Elliot Eastman, was pursuing his dreams when tragedy struck.
I don't know how about this on the answer. I'm afraid. I'm afraid if they don't have somebody that.
Elliot Eastman was a U.S. citizen living in the Philippines in an incredibly dangerous region. The YouTuber was snatched from his home with his young wife left staring at the waves.
Scared, dude. Interesting. Take a picture, camera, go. There's like so many of them, there's like 4 of them. And they're looking at us. They're at me.
What happened to Elliot Eastman? How did he predict his untimely tragedy? Welcome to the channel, where we uncover the dark truths behind the headlines. Born in 1997 in the small town of Heinsberg, Vermont, Elliot Eastman was known for his quiet and reserved nature. A graduate of Champlain Valley Union High School in 2016, Elliot pursued higher education at Ithaca College in New York before returning to his hometown. However, life in the tiny town of Heinsberg